Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto finds more than just a forbidden scroll on his excursion into the Hokage's private library. Part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. Yumino Iruka walked down the dusty streets of Konoha deep in thought. Yesterday had been graduation day for the academy, and his secretly favorite blonde knucklehead had finally passed. It was the way he had passed that was perplexing the academy teacher though. The scarred-faced man had sat in that room and felt the blonde mold his chakra like always, over the top and horrible as hell, believing even before the chakra smoke cleared he would fail him for the third time in a row. He, and the other teachers, had all been shocked into complete silence when they saw 10 perfect copies of the Jinchuriki grinning wildly. Though several Chunin-sensei wanted to fail the blonde because he made more than 3 copies, it was Iruka's decision as the boys' homeroom class instructor, so he handed over a leaf Hittite and promised to take him for ramen to celebrate. After the meal, Iruka had gone to see the Hokage about Naruto's oddity. The elderly leader had already heard about it from several academy sensei actually. Apparently they wanted Naruto's Hittite taken on the grounds he must have cheated, though no one had any idea how exactly he could have done so. Several had actually suggested Iruka himself had probably helped the boy out of misplaced kindness and wanted him fired from the school. This had greatly upset the young sensei. However, he let it slide as he had more pressing questions. After explaining in detail exactly what he felt in that room, Sarutobi had asked him if he knew any genjutsu. Iruka hadn't seen what his abilities had to do with Naruto, but he explained that there were a few illusion techniques in his arsenal, though not many. The Hokage then instructed him to teach 1 or 2 to Naruto and see what would happen. The old man also gave Iruka a small scroll containing 3 ninjutsu he believed would suit the young Jinchuriki well. Now that the blonde was a ninja, several unfair rules and laws that affected his training negatively no longer applied. Anyone was free to teach anything they wished to the boy if the Hokage approved, since he was no longer technically a civilian. 1. Right now the brown-haired Chunin was making his way to the training grounds. There was still 1 week remaining until the teams were announced, and most kids were taking advantage of the free time to play, except a few. Of those few, dedicated was Naruto himself, who was right now down by the river working on katas. Iruka watched him from a distance, shaking his head. However, became his jounin instructor would have to work with him greatly on taijutsu. Naruto! The teacher called to get the blonde's attention. The boy was in the middle of executing a sloppy spin kick and fell on his head surprised. Getting up with an annoyed pout while rubbing the bump on his noggin, the child glared at the laughing man. "What do you want, sensei?" Giving the boy a mock glare, Iruka said. "Hey, that's not the proper tone to use when addressing a superior genin. Plus cheer up, I'm here to teach you a few jutsu." At the magic word, Naruto's blue eyes widened excitedly. He began jumping up and down while asking in an overexcited babble. "Really? What? Does it explode? Please tell me it explodes. Oh, or is it a fire jutsu that makes Sasuke's look lame? Oh wait, a fire jutsu that explodes. Come on, tell me already." Iruka got fed up with the blonde's excited rambling and bonked him hard on the head. Naruto went face first into the ground but sprung back up like nothing happened. He sat cross-legged on the ground, still trembling with happy excitement, and gave Iruka his full attention. The Chunin studied the boy for a second to make sure he truly had his undivided attention before continuing. "The first thing I'm going to teach you, Naruto, is a C-ranked genjutsu." "What?" The blonde cut him off with an angry yell. He then proceeded to whine. "Why do I need to learn some stupid genjutsu, Iruka-sensei? I want an exploding fire jutsu." Growling, "Naruto!" the angry teacher yelled. "Genjutsu can be far more dangerous and deadlier than ninjutsu when used properly." Calming down, Iruka continued in a forced, placating voice after an idea struck him. "Now here's the deal, Naruto. I have a scroll with me from Lord Hokage containing 3 techniques he said would be perfect for you. I'm going to demonstrate 2 genjutsu to you, and if you give me an honest effort in learning them, I'll give you this scroll." Still not looking very enthused but resigned to the deal, Naruto grumbled out. "Fine. First things first, Naruto, mainly because I know you weren't paying attention in class when I went over this, I need to explain exactly what a genjutsu is." Iruka began in what many children had dubbed his lecture voice. Realizing he was going to get a long speech made Naruto almost cry. A genjutsu is any technique that attacks the mind of an opponent in some way or form. This attack can be to confuse, disorient, deceive, in some extreme cases kill, and so on. The 2 basic forms of genjutsu are illusion and commands. One needs a strong imagination, mental power of will, and the control over their chakra to effectively utilize genjutsu. For illusions, the standard clone jutsu we teach at the academy is the most basic example we can give. Simply a construct of empty air and chakra that everyone can see. Several faults with the technique is it doesn't cast a shadow, it doesn't make any noise when it moves, and it gives no feel of physical presence to the opponent. An illusion is an indirect method of attacking the brain through eyesight only. We will compare the standard clone to distinguish commands from illusion. Basically, a command is when you directly attack the mind with willpower and chakra. If I chose to, Naruto, I could place a command upon your mind and make you see copies of me similar to the clone jutsu. The difference would be only you would see the clone and no one else. Your mind would also fill in the blanks for me. When the clone moves, you would hear it. When it comes close, you could smell it or feel a false physical presence. Much more convincing to your mind than a simple illusion. The strength of a command genjutsu relies heavily on the caster's willpower, imagination, and overall knowledge of a subject versus the target's willpower and knowledge. There is much more to genjutsu than that. We didn't even go over illusion and command combos. However, that is much more advanced and beyond my abilities. I do need to explain one more thing, Naruto, the two main ways to cast a genjutsu. Those are individual and aerial. Every time you use the clone jutsu, it is an aerial attack. Everyone on the battlefield can see the copy of you and be manipulated in some way by it. This can at times lead to miscommunication with teammates, so you need to be careful this doesn't happen. When you target an enemy directly in a way that only affects them, that's an individual attack. Now, if you're in an area with multiple enemies and allies, learning to sense chakra can allow you to zero in on your enemies only, and preform a mass effect individual group-based attack. Basically, you can make only the enemy see the copies of you without your allies seeing them. Iruka finished his explanation and said, "The only one we'll focus on today is command." "Finally, sensei, your speeches take forever," the blonde complained. "Little twerp," the Chunin thought, annoyed. "The first genjutsu I want you to try is a basic command that makes the target see something wrong. I want you to try and make me see something different, like this." The academy instructor made the hand sign for rooster followed by ram. Genjutsu, false visual. Iruka looked down at Naruto, waiting for him to catch the subtle but noticeable change. The blonde looked on curiously before finally spotting it. "Your scar's gone, sensei." Chuckling, the Chunin allowed his technique to fade as he said, "Good, Naruto, very observant. Okay, you try. Just remember to focus on me when you cast the jutsu, visualize exactly what you want me to see, and try and use as little chakra as possible. This technique can make an enemy see almost anything, but it's best to focus on yourself first because it requires less concentration." Naruto closed his eyes and thought. Coming up with an idea, he made the two hand signs and called, "Genjutsu, false visual." Iruka winced at the horrible amount of chakra the orange-wearing genin threw away in his performance. It took him 3 tries, but eventually the boy managed to connect a moderate amount of chakra with the Chunin's own. The older man soon found himself starting down and Naruto dressed completely in a tailor-made to fit Hokage outfit. Just like yesterday with the clone jutsu, it made no sense. It was like somehow the child's body was molding chakra and discarding what it didn't need all on its own, without Naruto's input. This was not the way genjutsu worked. Every attempt should have unraveled and fallen apart before they could do anything, much less actually work. "Well, did I do it this time, sensei? How do I look in my Hokage threads?" Naruto asked, smiling hopefully. He should have felt his chakra connect to mine. Maybe that huge amount he expelled caused him to miss it. This ability, whatever it is, still requires some level of chakra control to be effective. Otherwise his enemies will know the moment he casts a genjutsu, and Naruto himself won't feel the connection when it works. "You did well, Naruto," Iruka said out loud. "However, you need to feel for the chakra connection that you will share with enemies you capture in genjutsu. It will tell you if they're fooled or not, and if they manage to escape. The connection also leaves you vulnerable to counter techniques, so you need to be cautious of that as well." Naruto seemed to soak up the information in for a second. "Okay, sensei, what now? Do I get my jutsu scroll?" "No," Iruka said sternly. "You get the scroll after you've attempted both genjutsu." "But genjutsu are boring and complicated," Naruto whined loudly. "It's not like I'll ever use this stuff in a fight. Hopefully by my first battle I'll have learned how to blow something up." "No, sensei, not even one with a quarter of a brain is going to teach you how to blow something up until after you've demonstrated some damned common sense, you knucklehead," Iruka yelled down at the Jinchuriki. The orange-clad boy stubbornly folded his arms and looked away. The instructor sighed heavily. He hadn't meant to be mean, but Naruto had to understand exactly what ability he had. Sometimes people were born with a talent they didn't want, and would foolishly chase another. They usually learned the hard way just why this was a stupid decision. More than likely they never got a chance to rectify that mistake. Genjutsu, in the hands of someone that knew how to use it, was one of the deadliest shinobi abilities around. Iruka himself once watched a stone shinobi turn his most devastating jutsu on his own men because they appeared as the enemy. It had been the last mission he ever went on before joining the academy. Kurina Yuhi was said to still have nightmares of that horrible day, and the decision she made to save their team. All the power in the world wouldn't do you any good if you couldn't trust your own mind. Deciding enough was enough, Iruka quickly made 4 hand signs in quick succession, and called out, "Genjutsu Art, Rolling World View." The landscape for Naruto changed drastically. The trees, river, and grass-covered ground began to move erratically like rolling ocean waves, and he was the boat bobbing on the green sea. The young boy began to feel queasy, like he was getting seasickness. It became too hard to stand on the shifting ground, so he fell on his butt. The orange-clad teen was on the verge of puking when everything stopped and went back to normal. Looking up at his sensei, still a little green, the Jinchuriki dizzily asked, "What the hell was that?" "The second genjutsu I want to teach you, which is called Rolling World View. The attack gives visual and mental effects to a target that brings on seasickness. Unlike false visual, the Rolling World View is a designer genjutsu, meaning the effects are set and can't be changed, but the degree of nauseating movement can," was the Chunin's reply. Iruka waited for Naruto to stand back up and showed him the hand signs. As the boy began happily going through them, Iruka explained, "Cast the jutsu on me, but try and keep your chakra calm. The truth is you used enough energy in your 3 attempts to use false visual to power the technique close to 100. However, what Iruka was trying to say was cut off by Naruto's exuberant cry. "Genjutsu Art, Rolling World View." If Iruka had placed Naruto on a subtle rolling sea of land, the boy had placed him in a torrential hurricane. One moment he was standing on flat ground and the next on top of a hill looking down at the woods and river far below. Before that view could fully register, the man found himself at the bottom of several rolling hills that disappeared far into the sky. The world tilted right, left, up, and down, and poor Iruka was powerless to stop it as he laid on the ground moaning, struggling to get a grip on his chakra to break free from the jutsu. With his sensei gripping the sides of his alarming green face and moaning, Naruto, who was at first proud he pulled the technique off on his first try, began to panic as it dawned on him he didn't know how to undo it. He quickly grabbed his instructor's tactical vest and began shacking him frantically. Iruka sensei, snap out of it!" The Jinchuriki screamed, alarmed, as the man gave no response but a dry heave. "Actually remember something useful from the academy," the blonde recalled. "Sakura Haruno once explained to Ino Yamanaka that pain could break you out of a genjutsu." Shrugging, and having no other bright ideas, Uzumaki cocked back his fist and let fly for Iruka's nose. Hokage's manner. Sarutobi sat at his desk waiting on 2 of his jounin subordinates. In front of him sat Iruka Umino with a busted nose stuffed with bloody tissue paper. The man arrived from the hospital an hour ago and hadn't said much except to confirm Naruto could use genjutsu regardless of chakra control. Hiruzen hadn't brought up his black eyes or busted nose since he didn't believe he could keep from laughing. Not much longer, Kurenai arrived with a disgruntled Hatake Kakashi. Both were dressed in traditional jounin dress, even though the copy ninja looked a little rough around the edges. Someone had placed him in a genjutsu that made him think he was extremely late, and the man had rushed in getting ready for the meeting. "Glad you could arrive in a respectable time frame," Sarutobi acknowledged, secretly giving Kurenai praise. "We have things to discuss regarding team placement." "Sir?" Kurenai asked, surprised. "I thought it was decided that I would lead a tracking team and Kakashi an assault team." The red-eyed woman didn't want to admit it, but she was worried. The tradition of putting the best and worst student together with the overall smartest didn't always work each year. It had to do with personal abilities, and if teamwork techniques were truly possible, other students may simply fit better together than others. This had caused a small debate because of Sakura Haruno and Hinata Hyuga. Sakura was noted to be a natural chakra controller by the academy. Truly, her small reserves did help in that matter, but it was also natural-born instinct and ability. It was recommended by several the girl be trained in genjutsu, as it was believed her superior intelligence and dominate will would allow the pinkette to go far in the field of illusion. This meant Kurenai would be the best sensei to pair with. The problem was Naruto Uzumaki and Sasuke Uchiha were the 2 most likely students to pair the young Kunoichi with because of tradition. Both boys under Kurenai would not learn nearly as much as they would from someone like Kakashi, so some people had suggested switching teams for Hinata and Sakura. There were a couple of issues with that as well. Kurenai was to lead a tracking unit, and Kakashi a heavy combat unit. Sakura had no real ability for tracking, judging by her academy performance. Hinata, however, would work well with either unit because of her Byakugan. Ultimately, it was decided to keep tradition because there appeared no possible solution, and Kakashi could technically help Sakura with genjutsu as well, just maybe not as well as Konoha's genjutsu mistress. Kurenai herself had been relieved to hear this news. Not that she had anything against Sakura, but she had history with Hinata. With Lady Hitomi gone from this world and the young Hyuga Kunoichi entering the academy, the Hyuga clan had paid the village for a long-term mentor mission. Kurenai had served as the girl's confidant for the last 2 years when not on other missions and had hoped to be her sensei. Lord Hokage studied the Jounin Kunoichi for a second, then explained. There was an oddity regarding Uzumaki Naruto's passing the academy. Several instructors came to me determined that somehow he cheated since Naruto pulled of the clone jutsu with the same deplorable chakra control as always. At the old man's signal, Irika picked up the explanations. What the instructors explained was in fact the case. I came to Lord Hokage to discuss this last night, and he instructed me to attempt to teach Naruto Genjutsu this morning. I decided to teach him the false visual and rolling worldview techniques, as they are the two Genjutsu I'm most familiar with. Was he able to use them? Kakashi asked, surprises. Extremely well, Irika said sarcastically. It took him 3 attempts to us the false visual, but he got rolling worldview on the first try. Somehow his body only uses the chakra it needs for the techniques and discards the rest. That shouldn't be possible, Kurenai said, surprised. Could this be something regarding the Kyuubi? Sarutobi lit his pipe and took a long pull. This is due to Naruto's Uzumaki heritage, not the 9 tails. I'm sure everyone here knows that the Uzumaki clan was known for Fuinjutsu and longevity more than anything else. What most people fail to remember is that sometimes they also possessed immensely powerful natural-born abilities. Sometimes they were apparent at birth and other times only after puberty. Naruto is the later. Every special ability of the Uzumaki clan relies on their unique chakra. Uzumaki Kushina herself possessed adamantine chains, which were indestructible metal links forged directly from her own chakra. However, some of the Uzumaki clan had to have a physical anomaly to work a special ability. Last night I had one of my Hyuga A and B go check on our little blonde menace to confirm my suspicions. What Naruto possesses is known as the Yamigan, or the Dream Weaver's third eye. Literally a third eye is embedded in the frontal lobe of his brain. However, unlike the Uchiha's Sharingan or the Hyuga's Byakugan, this dojutsu can only be used by Uzumaki chakra. It has lain dormant for most of the boy's life and has finally begun to awaken. For now, all it can do is regulate chakra when molding genjutsu to help Naruto cast them. What are its other abilities? Kakashi inquired curiously. I'm not sure exactly what they will be, however. Both the Uchiha and Hyuga have written testimony from ancestors that speak of the dojutsu's strength regarding genjutsu. It is possible that Naruto may unlock Sharingan-level techniques in the future. I know from Uzumaki clan records that the eye will begin to make its way to the surface of Naruto's forehead since it has begun the awakening process. When the eye finally appears, there's no telling what abilities it will grant Naruto. So, I take it you want me to take over Naruto's training, sir? Kurenai asked. How exactly will we restructure the teams? To my knowledge, Naruto is no better at tracking than Sakura Haruno. Actually, he may begin developing chakra sensory capabilities soon, Sarutobi explained. However, this opportunity presents us with a unique situation that we rarely see coming out of an academy class. We can form a solid espionage unit with Uzumaki Naruto, Haruno Sakura, and Hyuga Hinata. All were silent until Kakashi asked, surprised. You want me to lead Uchiha Sasuke, Inuzuka Kiba, and Aburame Shino in a tracking and tactical assault unit while Kurenai takes over the other 3 in an espionage unit? That was my thinking, yes, Sarutobi answered. Giving both Jounin serious looks, he asked. Do either of you have a problem with that idea? Kakashi thought it over, somewhat annoyed. He had nothing against the 3 boys personally, but teaching his late sensei's son had always been a given. With his knowledge of jutsu and Sharingan abilities, there wasn't many that could teach the Jinchuriki and control him should the worst happen. There were certain steps that could be taken to ensure the safety of another sensei, sure, but the Sharingan had just seemed like the safer bet. However, he was too much of a professional to let a personal issue get in the way of logical thinking, so said nothing. Kurenai did have a concern. Naruto won't like this, Lord Hokage. The clear sign of a good spy is to never be placed in a bingo book. If the enemy knows you're there, then you've already failed your mission. Ninja that specialize in espionage rarely fight on the front lines or gain recognition. They sneak in, get the information, and sneak out. If you have to throw a punch, the sneaking and spying are over. 2. Hiruzen couldn't help but agree with the statement. Naruto was someone that thrived on attention, and being forced to work constantly in secret would never appeal to him. Still, it was the best possession for him to fill with his abilities. Regardless of that, Kurenai, do you have a problem with teaching any student I named? No, sir, I will teach anyone that wants to learn, she said seriously. The Jounin then looked at Irika and asked curiously. Exactly how keen was Naruto on learning genjutsu? The Chunin chuckled and explained. I had to bribe him with learning ninjutsu to get him to cooperate. Though placing him under the Rolling Worlds technique also worked too, but for the love of Kami teach him to control the damn thing. He placed me under to practice, and I thought I would die from how nauseating it was. I couldn't get free and Naruto didn't know the release, so he broke my nose. All four grown-ups talked things over for a while, then left to accomplish other tasks. Sarutobi watched the young people leave, then turned to face his most hated enemy, paperwork. Looking around to make sure he was completely alone, the old man placed a basic notice me not genjutsu and summoned a shadow clone. The closet pervert then pulled out a little orange book and began reading while thinking. Thank you, Minato, for this basic yet wonderful knowledge. I still can't believe I actually did the work myself the first time around. All those years wasted working when I could have been reading educational literature. Undisclosed location. Mizuki Toji sat at a bar drinking cheap sake while silently cursing his luck. The plan was simple. The demon brat fails and gets tricked into stealing the forbidden scroll of seals. Then he, Mizuki, would steal the scroll for his master Orochimaru, leaving the boy dead with the blame. The only problem was somehow Naruto could defy the rules everyone else had to follow and use genjutsu without proper control. It would take some more planning, but Mizuki still thought it would work. Naruto could still get him to steal the scroll and take the blame. All he had to do was figure out a different lie and dangle something else in front of the fool that he wanted. Graduating was out as he did that on his own, but maybe some kind of special recognition would work. The child was a sucker for praise. Uzumaki Naruto happily walked down the road to his training area. It had been 5 days since Iruka-sensei had shown him the 2 genjutsu and gave him the ninjutsu scroll from Old Man Hokage. So far his progress was good. He had learned the 3 ninjutsu to some degree and had improved the false visual jutsu. He hadn't really found any way to safely practice the rolling worldview jutsu to do anything with it though. Thinking back on the last few days brought a happy smile to the blonde's face. The day after he had trained with Iruka was the photo registration. Natural, the old man had no appreciation for someone's difficult thought-out artwork and he was forced to retake his photo. However, while he was talking with the Hokage, Konohamaru, the old man's bratty grandson, had tried to launch a surprise attack against his grandfather. The idiot brat had tripped over his own scarf and fallen flat on his little kid face while still holding the kunai. Of course it hadn't ended there. The helmet-wearing brat had jumped up and accused Naruto himself of tripping him. Not one to take false accusations lightly, the blonde genin had grabbed the little punk by the front of his shirt, getting in his face. Konohamaru's of a sensei, Ebisu, who had come in right after the failed assassination attempt, demanded Naruto turn loose of the child at once on the grounds that the third Hokage was his grandfather. As Naruto himself was curiously looking for the family resemblance between the two, Helmet Head Brat had the stupid idea to ask if he, Uzumaki Naruto of all people, was afraid to hit him because his grandfather was the village leader. The orange-clad genin had proceeded to clobber the fool to the floor while saying, "I don't care if he's your grandmother, believe it!" What had proceeded from there was actually a fun day for Naruto, as he was able to teach Konohamaru his specialty sexy jutsu. The little boy had tried to follow him around the village, tried being the key word. His sneaking ability was horrible, and his disguises would make most academy students laugh. Honestly, how did you get the fence's wooden planks horizontal? After a small argument where Konohamaru called Naruto boss to butter him up, the blonde agreed to tech himself sexy jutsu so he could defeat his grandpa. The two then proceeded to uncover the secrets of female beauty by sneaking into adult stores and the girls' locker room at the local bathhouse. It had been a day of painful wax for the Jinchuriki. No one wanted to hit the honorable grandson, but everything paid off in the end. The whole thing had almost been ruined by Ebisu. The pompous sunglass-wearing jerk had found both boys while they were taking a break. He grew somewhat angry at seeing Naruto hanging out with Konohamaru. When he demanded the small child abandon the blonde and return to him for training, the Hokage's grandson demonstrated his new jutsu, turning into a perfect busted brunette. Ebisu hadn't been impressed by what he called a scandalous technique, and claimed it just proved Naruto was a bad influence. He grabbed the small child by his scarf and attempted to drag him off. Getting fed up with the grown man's bad-mouthing and attitude, the angry blonde silently cast the false visual jutsu. Ebisu was so distracted trying to wrangle his young student he didn't feel the genjutsu take hold of him, but he did feel the large wave of chakra Naruto had released. He glared in the Jinchuriki's direction wondering what he was up to. When the man turned back to Konohamaru, the jounin found he was no longer holding a scarf but a slender feminine arm. Nervously following the appendage upwards, the man was met by the image of a young necked blonde woman with whisker marks on her cheeks, all the right curves, and gorgeous blue eyes. He turned a startling red as blood rushed to his face. "Oh, Ebi-kun," the beautiful goddess said, holding her right hand up to her mouth and giggling. It was too much for the closet pervert. Blood squirted violently from his nose as he flew backwards unconscious. At first, Konohamaru had been confused by what happened until Naruto explained he used his genjutsu combined with sexy jutsu to defeat the big jerk. This had started a begging session in which Naruto got a taste of just how annoying he could be when the little boy began winning and demanding his boss teach him the technique. As it was getting late, the newly minted genin told the annoying kid to meet him at the river the following morning. This turned out to be a good decision on Naruto's part. The following day, Konohamaru showed up with his two best friends, Udan and Moegi. All three little kids had been wearing goggles on their heads mimicking their new hero, in their words the super powerful genin that defeated the annoying Ebisu. After talking it over for a few minutes, the blonde Jinchuriki agreed to show them the false visual if they helped him to perfect it, but not rolling worldview because he didn't want a repeat of the Irika incident. With help from the kids, Naruto was able to get better at detecting an individual's chakra. He was also able to learn how to target one person in a group of people. The genin also practiced placing his technique without direct line of sight by having the kids hide in the woods and sensing out their presence, but so far that wasn't working out too well. The children benefited also, of course. They learned the false visual, even though Moegi was the only one to get it to work and they learned to recognize when something they were seeing was fake. Naruto would place them in the technique and have them walk through the woods and point out the false animals they saw. So far they were surprisingly good at this, but they still missed a few every now and then. It was also fun to make them see amusing things like dancing flowers and singing squirrels. The blood-soaked man-eating tree was probably a little over the top, which was why the good-natured blonde genin only did it once. Fun as it was to practice and play with Konohamaru and his friends, Naruto hadn't really gotten a chance to work on the ninjutsu the Hokage gave him. He managed to get each one to work, but that's about it. The genin was wondering about strategy, and if his genjutsu could somehow be used with his current ninjutsu. Closing his eyes to sense for chakra when he made it to the river, the orange-wearing ninja didn't feel anyone. A shinobi had to keep their secrets after all. Unbeknownst to the Jinchuriki, there were in fact two people watching him that he failed to detect, one with malice and one with curiosity. The one who was curious was a young girl named Hyuga Hinata. The young kunoichi had a big crush on the blonde for several years but was too shy to approach him. Today in the village she had seen him leaving the local ramen stand and activated her Byakugan to have a better look. While using her X-ray vision, the blue-haired girl had seen something alarming. It was a glowing spot in Naruto's frontal lobe. Worried that it could possibly be a tumor, the girl had followed to examine it further. However, as she studied the anomaly, Hinata noticed that the growth was more like an eyeball. Curious about this strange development, she had continued to tail her crush. The second person watching Naruto was Mizuki. He had finally thought of a convincing lie to sell the boy to convince him to steal the scroll. At the moment he was seething with jealous anger as the genin casually displayed the multi-shadow shuriken jutsu. Where the hell did he learn that? Possibly from the same damned demon lover that taught him a way around the clone jutsu. Down in the clearing, the young boy was grinning in pride at a torn-up training post he just massacred. All over the 10-foot planted log was around 50 shuriken. Each one disappeared in a puff of smoke, leaving the damage they did behind. This was one of the 3 techniques the Hokage had given him. It required the person making the replications to have at least one real shuriken on their body somewhere. Though when you got good enough with the jutsu, you no longer had to have a real one with you. It could also work with any weapon available. The second jutsu was like the first because it also worked by cloning a weapon on your body, only it made a perfectly scaled larger model. It was known as the Giant Shadow Shuriken Jutsu, and it was giving Naruto some trouble. It wasn't the ability to create the giant weapon that was the problem, but the ability to weld them. Luckily, the old man had given him a way around this with the third technique. The final technique in the scroll was a strength enhancement ability called the Divine Embodiment Jutsu. It worked by molding chakra directly to your muscles and increasing their density. Naruto had tried to use the technique along with the Giant Shadow Shuriken, but it was hard to properly balance and throw accurately. However, if there was one thing Uzumaki Naruto was, it was stubborn, and today he was determined to get some level of proficiency. Doing as the scroll instructed, the orange-clad boy centered his chakra to prepare the divine embodiment, only to be interrupted by someone calling him. "Hey Naruto!" Looking around, startled, the boy saw one of his academy instructors approaching. It took him a moment to place the chunin with long white hair, but the name came to him soon enough. "What's up, Mizuki-sensei?" The older man had a disarming smile on his face as he said, "I was hoping to talk to you about your performance in the graduation exam." Naruto wasn't trying to be rude, but he really wanted to work on his jutsu in peace. So, he tried to make the guy leave. "If you have a question, I'm sure Irika-sensei can answer it." "Oh, no, that's not it at all," Mizuki said, doing his best to keep his patience. "I was thinking about you becoming a genin. With your performance during the exam, and with what I witnessed just now, I believe you should be a chunin like me." "One? Really?" Naruto asked, astonished. Is that even possible, sensei? Don't I have to be a genin first no matter what? Mizuki gave him his best honest smile and explained. No, Naruto, there exists a special exam the academy can give to those exceptional few. Talking it over with a few of my colleagues, we decided almost unanimously that you deserved a chance to graduate as a chunin based on your graduation performance. The gullible blonde was excited. This was the opportunity of a lifetime. Thank you, sensei, that's so awesome. What's the test? As Mizuki began explaining his lie, Hinata read the man's lips with her Byakugan. Admittedly, she didn't know everything about the village and its military practices, but the little heiress had never heard of an academy student being promoted to chunin right out the door. Plus, she was also aware of the animosity most people had for the orange-loving boy, an animosity Mizuki shared in. When Mizuki thought no one was looking, the man would usually glare at various children with jealous anger. Hinata believed secretly the academy instructor was envious of anyone born to a clan with special abilities or training. The young heiress never caught him glaring at her because whenever she was in sight of him he acted nice, but figured he held the same jealousy for her as he did every other privileged child. The one thing Hinata never understood was why the man would also glare at Naruto. The orphan boy had no parents to speak of and was definitely not privileged, at least not as far as the girl knew. Yes, the Uzumaki clan had been powerful, and the blonde definitely inherited their massive reserves of chakra, but there was no way for him to learn clan jutsu as most of them were lost. Mizuki would glare at Naruto with the meanest look of all, and the shy girl believed would never agree to some test to make her secret crush a chunin. Watching Naruto leave to fulfill his fake test, Hinata began to sneak away. She would go to her father and explain what was happening. However, before she could make it out of the woods, a cold voice asked, "Well, what do we have here?" Turning around terrified, the little heiress saw her evil sensei glaring down at her, for once not bothering to smile. It was the first time Hinata had ever seen him look at her with hatred. Later that night, Naruto happily jumped from tree branch to tree branch heading for the old shack Mizuki told him about. He wanted to get there quickly and learn a technique before his sensei came to get the scroll back. Stealing the large roll of paper had actually been easier than he thought it would be. Everyone was out busy with a village emergency or something. He wasn't sure what it was but didn't let it bother him. Old man Hokage's A and B were the best and would have whatever it was handled soon. The aspiring genjutsu user landed in the clearing next to the shack excitedly. Looking around, he didn't see Mizuki and figured the man was running late. Happy for this outcome, the genin opened the forbidden scroll of sealing and had a look at the first listed technique. Shadow clone jutsu, used to make solid copies of the user. The boy read out loud. Thinking it over for a second, it dawned on Naruto exactly what that meant. Awesome, I can have an army of me. Couple hours later. A terrified Hinata Hyuga was being carried under the left arm of Mizuki as they made their way to the trader's designated meeting spot. After the man caught her spying, he had tied and gagged the young kunoichi to keep her quiet. The chunin had been furious with her and ranted about how she disrupted his carefully made plan. Naruto was supposed to steal the forbidden scroll of sealing and give it to him, then he, Mizuki, would sneak away unseen while everyone else continued to look for the dead and disposed of Genin's body. Now the village would be on high alert thanks to the missing Hyuga heiress. The cruel man hadn't ended his rant there though. Mizuki dug the metaphoric kunai even deeper into Hinata's heart by saying he knew exactly what the blonde meant to her, and that he would love to grant the girl one more time to see her secret crush before taking the heiress far away forever. Hinata would be able to watch Naruto die. The indigo-haired girl's terror was not for herself but Naruto. Realistically, the search teams Mizuki had been forced to evade all day would begin looking further away from the village when they failed to find Hinata close by. The trader would have to sneak past teams that were actively looking for the little Hyuga kunoichi. That meant the girl herself had a good chance of being rescued, but no one was going to be there to save the orange-loving genin. Watch closely, Lady Hinata, I'd hate for you to miss it, Mizuki said coldly. Thanks to you I don't even have time to taunt or goad the fool, just slit his throat, grab the scroll, and hightail it out of here. Activating her Byakugan, the girl saw Naruto casually leaning against an old shack with a large scroll next to him. The boy was blissfully unaware of the danger that was fast approaching. Tears fell from Hinata's eyes as Mizuki quickly rushed in and cut her secret crush's throat with a kunai. However, both herself and Mizuki were shocked when the Naruto in front of them vanished in a puff of smoke. What? Was all the shocked Mizuki could say. The large scroll puffed away in a cloud of smoke to reveal a second shocked Naruto. The boy explained in a confused way. Ah, surprise, sensei? I managed to learn Shadow. Why are you carrying Hinata? Why is she all tied up? The heiress could see the alarm bells ringing in the blonde's eyes, but his confused face remained. Hinata tried to give out a muffled warning as Mizuki quickly grabbed the boy by his shirt. Giving one of the meanest looks, the man said with a snarl. I don't have time for your games, brat. Give me the scroll of sealing now or Hinata dies. To emphasize just how serious he was, Mizuki hammered the boy hard into the side of the shack. However, this Naruto also vanished in a puff of smoke. Hinata quickly extended her sight to see that the whole clearing was surrounded by dozens of Naruto clones. Each one as solid as an actual body, not the illusion they were taught in the academy. For the first time since Mizuki snatched her, the girl began to have hope. The heiress also noticed each copy had that weird third eye and it appeared to be activating. The girl recalled lessons from instructors that explained some Kekkei Genkai had a reflex activation to intense situations. Taking a close look at the nearest Naruto's third eye, she saw it full appearance. The iris looked like it was filled with a slow burning gold and orange flame. The colors reminded Hinata of sunset. There was also no pupil, just 4 tomo going around the edge similar to pictures she had seen of the Uchiha's Sharingan. Mizuki's anger was growing. Come out now, you damn demon, or I'll kill the stupid girl, I swear. Give me the scroll and you can both leave here alive. Hinata tried to give out a muffled warning, trying to tell Naruto the man was lying. She wanted him to run away and get help. Mizuki had a reason to keep her alive, but not her secret crush. However, the heiress's hopes of the genin retreating plummeted as she saw the Naruto closest to the real scroll make hand signs. Hinata noticed the fireball like eye begin to emit a small amount of purple chakra. When Naruto unleashed an alarming amount of energy, the third eye released a purple pulse behind it. The first wave of chakra did nothing but alert Mizuki to Naruto's presence, but the second placed energy in his mind that began to attack his neural pathways. The enemy dropped her and began to drunkenly stumble around while turning green. Still observing everything with her Byakugan, Hinata noticed every clone charge just as Mizuki dropped to his knees. Several clones had done something to themselves that made their muscles glow with chakra. However, before she could make sense of what was happening, one of the Naruto clones picked her up bridal style and retreated to the woods. As they landed by the scroll of sealing, Hinata realized this was no fake but the real Naruto. Quickly removing the gauge, the boy asked urgently, Hinata, what the hell is going on? Why are you here and why is Mizuki-sensei trying to kill us? This was supposed to be my secret Chunin exam. There were so many questions running through Hinata's mind right now. What exactly was that third eye and how did it work? How had Naruto Uzumaki, arguably the student in their class with the most chakra but also the worst control, managed to place an advanced genjutsu on their traitorous Chunin instructor? How the hell had she gone all these years without talking to the boy she admired more than anyone, something she planned on rectifying if they both made it out of this mess alive? However, she figured the life-threatening situation they were in took greater precedence, so she decided to save her questions until later. As the blonde began untying her, Hinata quickly explained. It was all a lie, Mizuki only wanted the scroll. I saw him trick you and was going to tell my father, but he stopped me before I could. Mizuki decided to take me along with the scroll and kill you. We have to get out of here now. Naruto stood in shocked disbelief. Mizuki was a traitor, it couldn't be possible. Going over the events from the last few minutes, he knew Hinata was telling the truth. Coming to a decision, the whisker-faced boy gave the young Kunoichi a determined look. Take the scroll and run, I'll hold him off. No, Hinata said, shocked at the suggestion. We go together or not at all. Look, we don't have time to argue, Naruto explained urgently. Mizuki broke my genjutsu and has almost defeated my clones. I wish more had thought to use the divine embodiment while attacking, but they didn't all think of it. Activating her Byakugan, Hinata saw that Naruto was correct. She asked him, shocked. How did you know? My shadow clones, Naruto answered. When one puffs away, I get their knowledge. So, I have an idea of what's going on back there in the clearing. Hinata noticed two things next. When the last clone was destroyed, the eye in Naruto's brain turned to look in the clearing's direction, and Mizuki, a little bruised and bloody with a black eye and busted lip, was heading right for them. Shit, that bastard is heading right for us, Naruto said angrily. I can sense his chakra moving this way. We need to hide. Naruto slung the scroll strap over his shoulders and grabbed Hinata around the waist while leaping down to the forest floor. Quickly going through hand signs, the boy whispered. Genjutsu art, false visual. Hinata watched the third eye once more unleash a small pulse of purple chakra as Naruto himself unleashed another massive wave. The purple pulse stayed in a dome around them while the large pulse went out as far as the girl's Byakugan could see. The Hyuga noticed her blonde secret crush had placed them inside a genjutsu to hide the image of a boulder. However, their evil sensei knew the general location of where they were at now thanks to the large pulse. The heiress watched Naruto's third eye track Mizuki as he came closer. Can he somehow see out of that thing? she wondered. The Chunin landed on the branch the kids had just leapt from and looked around frustratedly. Hinata noticed Naruto mouthing "Please don't find us, please don't find us" repeatedly. The fireball-like eye began to send out a continuous purple chakra that reinforced the illusion that surrounded them. The young kunoichi was astonished when she realized what was happening. Whatever that eye is doing, it keeps Mizuki from sensing our location and possible from hearing us as well. Come out, you damned demon! Mizuki yelled in anger. What, do you think if you act like some kind of hero this village would ever accept you or forgive the blood you spilt? Do you? At the white-haired man's words, Naruto stopped chanting. He focused more on the Chunin as the enemy continued. Do you know why they hate you, brat? It's because 13 years on the day you were born, the nine-tailed fox spirit, the very one that killed Irika's parents, attacked our village. The fourth gave his life to defeat it, but unlike what you and everyone else were told, Minato Namikaze couldn't actually kill it. He imprisoned the monster inside of you, making you the new demon fox. The only reason you, and that little pale-eyed bitch hiding with you, never knew the truth was because the third Hokage passed a law forbidding anyone from talking about it with anyone that didn't already know. Hinata stared at Naruto in stunned disbelief. It all made horrible sense. All the mean looks, the glares, the name-calling, some people even calling him demon when they thought no one could hear, it all fit with what Mizuki was saying. Naruto was thinking the same thing as Hinata. Unfortunately, because his brain was stunned, the Yamigan was no longer responding to his desire to hide. With a triumphant sneer, Mizuki hurled one of the two giant shuriken from his back directly at the hidden children. The boulder faded from existence as Hinata grabbed the Jinchuriki and leaped away, the weapon missing them by a hair. The Chunin jumped down to corner his prey. Grinning menacingly at the children, he said happily, "Well, looks like this game is over. It's been fun, but I really must be going now. Hand over the scroll and the little Eris monster, and I'll kill you quickly." Naruto was still too stunned to say anything. Mizuki grew tired of waiting and grabbed his second giant shuriken. Using his chakra to give it a violent spine, he threw it as hard as possible for the boy's neck. Die, demon! Hinata saw the danger her beloved friend was in. With a grace and agility far superior to any of her classmates, the Hyuga barrel rolled over the flying weapon, grabbed the middle ring, and gave it a strong enough jerk with her small body to change the trajectory somewhere to the left of Naruto. She then landed gracefully in a juken stance, and gave Mizuki a hard glare of her own. "You're wrong, sensei, you are the demon, not Naruto," she said to the traitor angrily. "Uzumaki Naruto is a good, sweet, and kind person that tries his hardest at everything he does. You are a monster that lies to children to trick them into doing your bidding. You would gladly sell out your home village for money and power, while Naruto would gladly lay his life down to protect it if need be. So, you tell me, who is the demon here, sensei?" Naruto was once again shocked, only not because of a horrible revelation, but because he had never seen Hinata in such a way as this. No one had ever stood up for him, really. Sure, when old man Hokage or Irika were around, people acted nicer, but no one had ever called villagers out on their behavior towards him like Hinata was doing right now. It filled him with an emotion he had never felt before, and renewed his resolve to kick Mizuki's ass. The Chunin was also staring at the little Eris in disbelief. How could anyone respect or adore this monstrous brat when they fully understood exactly what he was? Yet here this pale-eyed kunoichi was trying to defend a demon, and possibly still fantasizing about having his spawn one day. Pulling a kunai from his weapon's pouch, the man said with contempt, "I've changed my mind. You can die with the monster you love, you little bitch." Mizuki charged with his kunai and hand straight for the girl. However, before he could reach her, his view of the world began to move like the ocean again. Aggravatingly breaking the genjutsu, the traitor was met with a lethal-powered juken strike to the chest. Quickly shifting his body, the grown man changed the fatal strike into a painful blow that he would easily survive. Backpedaling from the strike, the Chunin saw the clearing fill with smoke. When it cleared, he was met by an annoying sight. Naruto had filled the entire area with shadow clones. "This means nothing, you little brat," he yelled angrily. 1,000 times 0 is still 0. You're barely genin taking on a Chunin. How do you honestly think this fight ends? The experienced shinobi quickly centered himself as the throng of orange-loving fools closed in. Using kunai and shuriken, the man managed to destroy a large amount before they could get to him. When they did finally close, Mizuki began to display his superior taijutsu, often using the small smoke screen of disappearing clones to disorient other clones for easier kills. Hinata tried to attack with juken on several times, using the clones as cover, and managed to disable the man's left leg once. However, seeing the girl try for his right leg proved her downfall, as the man ruthlessly broke the outstretched arm by stomping it with his foot. Screaming in pain, Hinata quickly retreated as Mizuki finished off the last few clones. The moment the last clone faded, Mizuki felt an attack coming from Naruto's direction. He quickly jumped as a hail of close to 100 shadow shurikens swarmed the area he had been standing. Looking down from the tree branch he was glued underneath, the Chunin gave his enemy a cocky grin. Tenacious little bastard, aren't you? The evil man dropped down gracefully to stand before the two genin. Naruto was standing protectively in front of Hinata, who held the prized village scroll. The young girl was on the verge of passing out from the pain she was in, and the boy looked exhausted himself. He had never used this much chakra in one go before and was throwing away far more power than he utilized in his attacks. Scoffing, Mizuki asked. You can't possibly think you can still win, fool. You and that brat behind you are going to die tonight, it's inevitable. Naruto, not really knowing anything to say, just began gathering his chakra. With a war cry, the boy's chakra flooded his body once again. Quickly making hand signs, the kid cried. Ninja art, divine embodiment jutsu. Fuck. Mizuki thought as he began dodging wild punches and kicks that had enough force to knock over trees. The genin was putting everything he had into one final gamble to save himself and his friend, but it wasn't enough. While at the moment being superior to the Chunin physically, the boy couldn't overcome the white-haired man's combat experience and speed. The former academy instructor turned killing blows into glancing hits while simply waiting out the jutsu's clock. Finally, Mizuki sensed the jutsu end as Naruto tried to connect an off-balanced right-hand haymaker. The traitor grabbed the boy's outstretched forearm and broke it with a sharp chakra-enhanced squeeze. He twisted the whole arm clockwise, breaking the elbow, and then for good measure drove his own reinforced elbow into the would-be hero's right side collarbone, shattering it to pieces. The Chunin then dropped to a knee and forced the boy to mimic him. At the moment, the Chunin could have easily killed both genin and flee with the forbidden scroll of sealing, but the cruel man wanted both children to suffer for the trouble they put him through. The black eye and busted lip Naruto gave him when he used rolling worldview with shadow clones to rescue Hinata during the start of the fight, and the juken blows the girl landed that still hurt like hell. Giving the trembling heiress a cold look, he said in a menacing growl, "Bring me the scroll or watch him die slowly." Hinata activated her Byakugan, desperately hoping to find something that could save her and the boy she loved. However, as she peered around, her heart fell when she realized they were completely alone and without options. Naruto seemed to come to the same conclusion as the girl. Hinata, he weakly called. The fire, which represented his third eye's awakened power, was flickering like a dying candle in the Byakugan's sight. Hinata, leave the scroll and run. Save yourself, please. The poor girl's heart skipped a beat with fear when it dawned on her just what the blonde was asking. I will not leave you here to die, Naruto. I love you. I've loved you for years. There must be a way to win. There just has to be. Don't make me abandon you, please. Mizuki began to laugh while Naruto's anger grew. No one had ever said such words to him before, and the bastard Chunin had the gall to mock the girl. His resolve to win returned as a suicidal plan formed. I have a few paper bombs in my leg holster. If I can reach them with my left hand, I can take this with me. Even as the thought crossed his mind, Naruto knew it couldn't work. He had worn out his muscles when he used that overpowered divine embodiment, and couldn't move. There had been a warning the Hokage written in the scroll Irika gave him. His holster was on his right leg, and there was no hope of reaching it with his left hand. As the hopelessness of the situation grew, so did the Jinchuriki's desire to kill the enemy. There has to be a way to take this bastard out. Hinata watched through her Byakugan as a new development occurred. The third eye's gentle flame, which had been flickering as Naruto struggled to remain conscious, had begun to rage like a bonfire. Watching closely, the girl noticed a small but dense amount of purple chakra leave the eye and travel through the Uzumaki's chakra network. It entered Mizuki's body at the points where they touched and quickly traveled to his brain. Once more the purple energy laid siege to the man's neural pathways, just like before when Naruto rescued her in the shack clearing, only much more intense and violent. Mizuki went from glaring at Hyuga Hinata while holding Uzumaki Naruto down, to floating in a vast empty void of darkness. He couldn't tell what was up and what was down. It was the most unnerving experiences of the Chunin's life. Hello? He called, terrified. Realizing this had to be a genjutsu, the man tried to call up his chakra to break it, only he couldn't feel his chakra at all. It was like he had no chakra network to speak of. Getting scared even more but trying not to show it, Mizuki angrily shouted out. Show yourself, brat. I know this is you, Naruto. Somehow, someway, I know this is you. In the distance a small light suddenly appeared. The Chunin looked towards it hoping to find some way out of this illusion. His hope turned to terror as the light became more defined. It was a giant angry eye made of fire with 4 tomos spiraling around the edges, and it was heading straight for him, growing even bigger as it approached. Soon it appeared larger than the whole Leaf Village. Unable to do anything else, the white-haired man screamed as the enraged eye finally engulfed him. Mizuki watched in horror and pain as his skin melted and cracked away, revealing a glowing white outline of himself underneath. The pain was like anything he had ever experienced, or would ever again. Soon all his skin was gone, and the glowing white outline of the man melted into the Yumigan's angry flames. In the real world, Hinata watched as the man's mind shut down and died. She watched relieved and ashamed as the man fell over dead. Naruto had passed out before even knowing what he had done and fell face first into the forest loam. The young heiress used the last ounce of her strength to pull the scroll over to the blonde hero. Slowly she sat down next to him and laid her head upon his good shoulder, passing out herself with a smile on her lovely face. There they remained unmoving till the ANBU found them at sunrise. Hiruzen Sarutobi stood in the ANBU examination room watching the autopsy of Chunin Mizuki Toji finish up. Not a first was the fact that ninja had died in an attempt to betray the Hidden Leaf Village. However, one first, definitely not something the third could say after such a long life, was the fact two young and inexperienced genin apparently had been the ones to stop him. The major problem was the fact one of the genin's level of involvement with the traitor was being questioned. It was a true fact Naruto Uzumaki had stolen the forbidden scroll of sealing. This was apparent by the fact his chakra was detected as the catalyst for an aerial-based false visual jutsu that made anyone who entered the scroll room see the sacred artifact still in its case. However, the way in which Mizuki was killed suggested that the Jinchuriki took him out, as there weren't many people capable of killing with genjutsu. These facts lead to two possible conclusions. Naruto and Mizuki worked together in stealing the scroll, but the boy had drawn the line at kidnapping Hinata, causing the two genin to team up to stop the Chunin, or the adult kidnapped the girl in order to force the Jinchuriki to get the scroll for him. Naruto could have gone along with the crime just to avoid the confrontation that could have gotten Hinata hurt, but Mizuki still tried to get rid of any witnesses, causing both kids to fight back and kill him. Inoichi Yamanaka was trying to uncover information from Mizuki's brain, but Sarutobi didn't hold out much hope of that working. The old leader watched as his head of analysis approached wearily. He could tell by the man's face there wasn't any good news, he just hoped there wasn't bad news. Lord Hokage. Inoichi began in an official-sounding way. The only son of Minato Namikaze meant a lot to everyone that knew the truth, and he was trying to be professional. Nothing to report, sir. The brain was completely wiped clean by whatever jutsu killed him. I've never seen anything like it. Whatever consciousness that established Mizuki Toji has been completely erased. I can't even find the basic mental commands we all have at birth. How the brain tells the heart to beat or lungs to function was erased along with everything else. Sighing, Sarutobi explained. I figured as much, Inoichi, but was hoping for answers to resolve this quickly. The longer the uncertainty of Naruto's loyalty lingers, the harder biased rumors will be to crush. The man was uncertain, as he suggested. Reading Naruto's mind while he sleeps would be difficult. His subconscious, like everyone else's, would try and reject my intrusion. His status as a Jinchuriki is a caution, but I would be more concerned of the Yumigan attacking, especially with what it did to Mizuki. Reading Hinata Hyuga's mind would also present challenges. First, Hayashi Hyuga may give us permission, but he will still take offense. The fact I'm potentially discovering Hyuga clan secrets from his daughter would be an insult no matter what reassurances I give. It ties back into the fact the Hyuga themselves live in an area where the Byakugan won't allow them to spy on other clans. The second problem will be the girl's Byakugan itself. It takes more than the dojutsu to use the Hyuga's sight. You need a mind trained to receive a much higher level of visual input than most. I haven't had the child's training, so her sight would be very disorienting to me. Truly, I doubt I could get much from her. Sarutobi nodded his head, understanding. If there is nothing more to learn here, then I'm going to the hospital. With any luck, Hyuga Hinata will be awake by now. It will take another day or two for Naruto to regain consciousness naturally with the strain his dojutsu placed on his mind, as well his level of pain. The shattered collarbone and broken arm combined with overusing the divine embodiment will hurt like hell. Hamura Mitokado, an elder council member, came walking up with a stern frown upon his face. The elderly man was followed by the second elder council member, Koharu Udatane. Unlike the man, her face was filled with concern. Sarutobi just knew they would both be headaches in their own way. Hiruzen, Hamura, and Koharu had been teammates since before the first Great Ninja War. Under Tobirama Senju, the second Hokage, they had formed the very first Team 7. The three had always been able to take care of themselves and look after one another, which was one of the main reasons the Hokage's old teammates were chosen as the village advisors. However, in recent years they had begun undermining Hiruzen's wishes whenever they could because they disagreed with the way he ran the village, Hamura more so than Koharu. Sarutobi, we need to talk, Koharu said nervously. We're not sure who talked, but rumors about last night are starting to spread. I actually heard a shopkeeper gossip that Naruto was the one that kidnapped Lady Hinata and stole the sacred scroll, and Mizuki died stopping him. Please tell me you corrected the idiot, Inoichi asked, disbelieving. We couldn't. Hamura explained. Technically there is still a gag order in effect. When some people asked us directly, all we could say was it's still being investigated. Groaning, Sarutobi looked to the elders and said, "Come on, let's get to the hospital. With any luck we can get Hinata Hyuga's statement." Hospital. Hyuga Hayashi stood in the lobby of the Leaf Village Hospital waiting for an update on his daughter. Since an extremely sensitive investigation was underway that she was involved with, the Hokage had declared her off limits to visit unless he, Hiruzen himself, or Shikaku Nara were present. No one was allowed in her room to keep from undermining possible testimony for or against Naruto Uzumaki. It wasn't like Hayashi didn't understand what the boy meant to Hidden Leaf, both as a Jinchuriki and future Uzumaki clan head, but this was his firstborn baby and he wanted to see her, not that his stock facial features gave his anxiety away. He truly wished Minato's son hadn't killed Mizuki. Hayashi would have made his departing from life much more slow and painful. Looking up, the furious father saw a man in green scrubs coming. The man nervously approached Hayashi and introduced himself. "Good morning, sir. I'm your daughter's head doctor, Kawamoto. At the moment she's resting comfortably, and we have managed to fully heal her right arm. It was a clean break, so there should be no lasting damage. We will still place a cast over it for a few days to be sure the bone is protected while it regains its full density." "Should be no lasting damage?" the head Hyuga asked coldly. "Oh, well, sir, no medical practitioner could ever say with 100% certainty exactly what the end result would be with each individual patient," the doctor explained while nervously laughing. "Each person is different, you see. Some people heal faster than others, but I can say with 99.99% certainly Lady Hinata will make a full recovery." Hayashi's eyes burned with a cold fury even as his face gave nothing away. He deeply found this man annoying. However, the clan leader had more questions to ask on behalf of the village. "Can Hinata be awakened safely at this time?" "Yes, sir, she can, but I would prefer her to wake on her own, mainly for healing purposes," the nervous doctor explained in what he hoped was a way that placated the head Hyuga. The stock long brown-haired man filed the information away for when the Hokage arrived. He would prefer to let his baby sleep until she woke on her own too, but an innocent boy's life hung on what she had to say. Hayashi didn't believe for one second that Naruto was guilty of anything except being himself, whatever that may mean to the circumstances surrounding this incident. Unfortunately, there were many others that hoped this altercation was somehow the result of Uzumaki's malicious intent. They wanted an excuse to exile or kill him. Thinking of the blonde boy, Hayashi asked the doctor, "How is Naruto Uzumaki faring?" Kawamoto had a confused look on his face. "The dem boy, sir?" The Hyuga's stone face returned as he said coldly, not missing the fool's slip. "Yes, the young man that saved my daughter from a kidnapper. How is he faring?" Gulping, the doctor was quick to assure the angry man. "He will be fine, sir. His heritage and a status will see to it. His right arm is in a cast up to his collarbone, but has already begun to mend, though if awoken the pain would be intolerable. We expect to remove his cast before your daughter's actually. With Hinata we are worried for the forearm's radius and ulna being a little bit softer than usual right after medical jutsu application. As Naruto is an Uzumaki, he won't have those particular problems. Hinata will need a few more days to regain her full bone density. It's only a minor concern, as I said, sir." Kawamoto walked off quickly after that, afraid of making Hayashi angry again. The Hyuga watched the doctor walk off, still thinking of strangling him. He impatiently waited for the Hokage to arrive so he could see his daughter. It wasn't much longer before Hiruzen arrived along with both elders Hamura Mitokado and Koharu Yutane. The three walked up to Hayashi quickly. The irritated Hyuga gave contemptuous looks to both elders and addressed the Hokage. "Naruto Uzumaki and my daughter Hinata are both doing fine, sir. Both have had their various broken bones set and are sleeping peacefully. However, if need be we can wake Hinata up now to question." "It would be best to wake the girl and get this over with," Hamura advised. Kohara nodded her head in agreement, her tightly wound gray bun barely moving an inch. Hiruzen thought it over and said, "I must agree with the elders. However, I just sent Anbu to retrieve Kurenai Yuhi and believe it best to wait for her. Lady Hinata will be more comfortable around Kurenai and easier to talk with. Unless you have objections, Hayashi?" "No, sir. I have no real concerns waking Hinata up but would like to wait on Jounin Yuhi," the clan leader stated formally. The four waited another half hour for the Jounin to show. When she did, they could tell the lovely black-haired woman had recently showered, as her hair was still a little damp and she was dressed in her distinguishable wrap-made outfit with the one red sleeve. "Sorry it took me so long, Lord Hokage. When I returned from searching for Hinata I collapsed on my couch to sleep. I was just getting out of the shower when Anbu informed me to meet you here at the hospital." "It's fine, Kurenai. Sarutobi assured her. We have decided to wake Lady Hinata early. It's unfortunate, but we need answers as soon as possible. The group of 5 walked down the hospital hallway to room 303. Across the walkway stood an ANBU guarding room 304, the place where Naruto slept. The group of 5 enter Hinata's room quietly. There they met an attending nurse sitting in the corner. The young woman stood up and smoothed back her short, dirty blonde hair. Sir, she nervously said, addressing the Hokage. I was told to stay here in case you needed to wake Lady Hinata. Will we be waking her up prematurely? Yes, dear. Sarutobi answered with a kind smile in hopes of alleviating the nurse's anxiety. The woman walked up to Hinata's bedside and placed 2 green glowing fingers on the child's brow. The indigo-haired girl's face took on an expression of frustration as she slowly returned to conclusions. She blinked her eye quickly and looked around at the room's occupants, her gaze settling on Hayashi. The short-haired nurse cleared her throat to get the young girl's attention. Lady Hinata, I'm your attending nurse Hiromi. Are you in any pain or discomfort? Looking down at her arm, Hinata answered. No, ma'am, not really. My arm feels a little numb, but I can move the fingers. Smiling kindly, the nurse explained. That's good, dear. Any change, let me know immediately. Lord Hokage has questions for you regarding the incident that got you hurt. I'll be close by if you need anything checking on my other patient brought in with you, Naruto Uzumaki. At her crush's name, the heiress focused back on the woman and asked in a quiet, shy manner. Is Naruto-kun okay? His right arm was hurt far worse than mine. The lady smiled kindly at her little patient. Oh yes, Naruto is doing just fine. He's a tough little guy and will be back to his normal amusing antics in no time, I'm sure. Bowing politely to the room's occupants, the nurse left to attend the little hero. Hayashi walked to a corner and stood stiffly while Sarutobi and Kurenai sat on Hinata's right and the elders her left. Smiling, the Hokage began in his usual grandfather voice. We do apologize for waking you, dear, but I'm afraid this can't wait. We need you to tell us exactly what happened and how you came to be in Mizuki Toji's hands. Why, sir, did something else happen? Hinata asked, nervous and confused. She didn't understand why there would be concern. Kurenai quickly interjected before anyone else could, namely Elder Hamura. No, Hinata, everything is fine so far as we know. However, there is a concern that Mizuki could have a partner in or around the village helping him. Sarutobi was grateful that he had brought the Genjutsu mistress. If word got around they had led Hinata's answers to a more favorable outcome for Naruto's sake, it would bring into question the girl's whole testimony. They wanted to hear what she had to say in an honest manner as possible, and that meant not telling her the boy she loved was under suspicion of treason. Otherwise she may try to craft answers to protect him, or others could falsely say she did to continue holding Naruto under an unfair light. Hinata looked back and forth between Kurenai and the Hokage, saying, No, he didn't have a partner, not any he mentioned anyways. The truth was he didn't want me at all, just the forbidden scroll of sealing. Koharu gave Hinata a searching look and asked, Did Mizuki kidnap you to force Naruto Uzumaki to steal the scroll for him? Looking even more confused, the young Hyuga said, No, ma'am, that's not how it happened. There was a look of triumph in Hamura's cold, vindictive eyes at the girl's words. He shot Sarutobi a look that clearly stated his victory over being right about the Uzumaki boy. Kurenai, however, had another question. Hinata, how exactly did you come to be in Mizuki's clutches? Start from the beginning and leave nothing out. You don't know what you could have missed that we more experienced shinobi could pick up on. The indigo-haired child smiled shyly at her mentor and began. Oh well, you see, I was going to buy some cinnamon buns when I thought I heard Naruto-kun's voice. So, I activated my Byakugan to check and it was him, only I noticed something wrong. It looked like there was a tumor in his brain, so I followed to have a closer look. A brain tumor? Koharu asked for clarification. The Hokage decided to explain. Not a tumor but an eye. The Uzumaki clan's Yamigan, or Dream Weaver's third eye, a rare ability that few are born with. It allows the user to wield genjutsu without proper chakra control and possibly has a few abilities that we have yet to see. And won't ever see. Hamura thought angrily. We will have to put genjutsu disrupting seals in the demon's prison cell. Hinata, still oblivious to the danger her personal blonde heartthrob was in, continued her explanation after filing away the Hokage's information for later. Getting back her train of thought, the girl began in her normal quiet voice. I watched Naruto-kun training for a while. I was wondering if he would do something with the Yamigan, but he never did. After a little time had passed, Mizuki approached Naruto to talk. Here the girl paused to think. How to explain this so I don't embarrass poor gullible Naruto-kun? Growing impatient, and wanting the boy's treason confirmed, Hamura asked harshly. Well, girl, what did he say? Lady Hinata? Sarutobi corrected his colleague in a reprimanding tone, giving him a cold glare. The male elder had the presence of mind to understand his mistake and said, Sorry, Lady Hinata, please tell us what Mizuki talked with Naruto about. Not seeing any way to make it sound better, the girl began explaining. Mizuki told Naruto that he and several academy instructors believed because of his performance during graduation, that he deserved to take a secret test to become a Chunin. The test was to steal the sacred scroll and bring it to the old shack in the North Woods. Mizuki told Naruto-kun where to find the scroll and everything. Elder Hamura Mitokado was furious as he saw the boy walking free in his mind. Not only that, but also being praised as some kind of damned hero for saving both the scroll and Lady Hinata from a traitor. No one could ever fault a student for believing a teacher's word. Without that trust, the whole system of shinobi training would crumble like a flimsy house of cards, which made Mizuki an even more deplorable ass for twisting it for his own agenda. Despite the absurdity of such a test existing, it wasn't beyond the realm of possibility, especially during times of war. Hiruzen was shaking his head at the gullibility of the village's blonde menace. Looking at Hinata, the old man asked, What did you do next, dear? I'm assuming Mizuki kidnapped you to prevent anyone from finding out what was happening. Yes, sir. I didn't know if there really was such a test, but I knew Mizuki hated Naruto-kun. The young girl continued her testimony. I had seen him glare at multiple children in the academy when he thought no one was looking, clan children mostly, but he glared the hardest at Naruto-kun. I knew if such a test existed, it wouldn't be Mizuki telling Naruto-kun about it. I was on my way to talk with my father when he grabbed me. From there, Hinata explained how Mizuki spent the day carrying her around while avoiding search parties. Kurenai watched her facial expression close as the shy girl came to the actual fight. The worried Jounin was afraid of psychological problems resulting from the trauma that was endured. She was also keeping a close eye on Hayashi. Every time his daughter said Naruto-kun, his right hand twitched a fraction of an inch. Kurenai noticed the small child was coming up to a part of her story that held deep emotion. The power she described regarding Naruto's Yamigen was truly incredible, especially how it reacted to the boy's desire to hide from Mizuki and reinforced the bolder illusion they hid inside. However, this is where Hayashi's oldest began to tear up a little. Mizuki told us why the village hates Naruto-kun. The indigo-haired girl sobbed. He told us about the Kyuubi so Naruto would make a mistake. Hiruzen placed a comforting hand on Hinata's shoulder and said, I'm glad you don't judge Naruto unfairly for his burden, dear, but please remember it is a village secret, and you must not talk of it. I know that, sir. Hinata sniffled. I just don't understand how people can judge him for something he has no control over. I ask myself that every day, Lady Hinata, the Hokage said while shooting the man across from him an unreadable look. Hamura just gave him the same look back in defiance. Koharu got fed up with both her old stupid teammates and asked the young Kunoichi to kindly continue her story. It took Hinata a moment to gather her thoughts, but eventually she described the harrowing battle between two genin and a traitor. The bastard Mizuki had been cruel in his tactical execution of combat skill and jutsu. Eventually the heiress came around to Naruto being pinned down by his broken arm while she herself was too badly injured to help. However, once more the girl paused her story to think. Kurenai tried to read the girl to determine what the problem was exactly. Did she not want to say it was Naruto that killed Mizuki, or was there something else going on? The Jounin decided the only way to get the truth was to ask. Hinata, we all know that Naruto killed Mizuki using a genjutsu. We don't know exactly what it was nor what triggered it. If you saw anything that could help, we need to know to better help Naruto master this power. He was beaten and broken, but something still gave him the mental fortitude, and to kill Mizuki with only a thought. What was it? The girl began to turn bright red as nervous sweat began to trickle down her face. Everyone watched as Hinata tried to open her mouth and talk, but only a squeak came out. It slowly began to dawn on Kurenai just what the girl said to Naruto to drive him forth to victory. Judging by the twitching fingers on Hayashi's right hand, he was getting it as well. Hell no! The Hyuga clan head thought angrily to himself. No way in hell did my daughter say what I think she said. She's much too young to be dating some blonde-haired, blue-eyed boy with only one thought in his little brain. Hamura, growing frustrated with the heiress, said forcefully, Lady Hinata, please, we need to know. Oh, you old fool, really? Koharu cut him off exasperatedly. It's obvious what happened, you idiot. She gave Naruto a battlefield confession. Kurenai was trying really hard not to laugh as Hinata gave a sharp eep and ducked under the covers. Battlefield confessions were like a deathbed confession. The only real difference was you had a chance to survive the battle after confessing. Many young lovers had started out this way, and many popular love novels started with them as well, so they were a popular topic amongst both young and old kunoichi. Thinking to herself, Kurenai began going down the list. Let's see, there's Lord Hokage and his wife Biwako. Hayashi and his wife Hitomi. If the story's true, they consummated their love in the medical tent that very night. Who else? Enko. Really, that was more of a in the heat of passion romance that fizzled out quickly. Oh yeah, who could forget Naruto's very own parents Minato and Kushina? Kakashi told me he possibly saw Naruto's very own conception when he came to training early once. The best animal to describe those two would have been rabbit. As that last thought crossed her mind, the Jounin's eyes quickly found Hayashi. The clan leader was standing forcibly rigged, right hand twitching as if gripping an imaginary kunai, and his right eye had developed a tic. It was apparent his mind had gone to the same place as Kurenai's. Sarutobi just chuckled at the whole thing. We'll let you rest, dear. That's all we needed, I think. You and Naruto will both receive pay for a mid-level B-rank mission, and it will be added to your ninja files. With that, everyone stood to leave. Hayashi moved forward and gave Hinata a small hug. In the hallway, Hamura stopped everyone just outside the door and said, I believe we should wake Uzumaki-san up now and ask him some questions. If nothing more than to confirm Lady Hinata's statement. Are you calling my daughter a liar, Lord Elder? Hayashi asked in a threatening tone. No, Lord Hayashi, of course not. However, some might say she made the story up and then explained everything to Naruto before we talked with him. The man said placatingly. To put rumors to bed before they can start, we need to act now. That boy's arm is a wreck, Koharu said, shocked by her colleague's suggestion. The downside to being an Uzumaki is that pain pills have no real effect. If we wake him and he's in pain, there's nothing we can do but apply a continuous relief jutsu of some kind, and those don't work much regardless. Sarutobi thought it over and realized both his old teammates had good points. Even if Hamura was just holding out hope Naruto would incriminate himself somehow. A little pain now to stop false accusations later seemed like the better suggestion, though. Giving the gray-haired old Kunoichi an apologetic look, he said, I must agree with Hamura. Using genjutsu to alleviate Naruto's pain would be ill-advised since we don't know how his Yamigan would react, but medical jutsu will work. We'll have Nurse Hiromi handle it. Walking up to the ANBU standing guard outside Naruto's room, the Hokage explained. You're relieved. I'm sure all we'll do in there is exonerate Naruto of any wrongdoing. Bowing, the man left quickly by Shunshin. The 5 adults entered the room to see the short-haired nurse examining the young hero with a diagnostic jutsu. She looked up surprised at the visitors. Can I help you, Lord Hokage? Taking a moment to look over his surrogate grandson filled the old man with an immense fury. The blonde was shirtless, laid out on the bed with his right arm in a rigid sling forced to rest straight out from his side. A cast from wrist to collar covered the entire appendage. Even as he slept, his breathing was labored thanks to bruised ribs and strained muscles. Yes, nurse, the old man said with a forced smile. We believe it would be best to put this martyr to bed now, and would like you to wake Naruto. However, can you stay to help should there be any pain? Well, if you insist, sir, but I think it's a bad idea, the woman said hesitantly. I will definitely stick around, though. Making a hand sign, the woman did for Naruto as she had done for Hinata. However, unlike the girl's face of reluctance to wake the boys was pale white and filled with pain. Grimacing, he came to consciousness with a chalked grasp. The nurse quickly began a jutsu on his arm that seemed to help a little. Naruto, it's me, Lord Hokage. Do you remember what happened with Chunin Mizuki Tuji? We need to ask you some questions? Sarutobi quickly stated, concerned. Hinata, is Hinata okay, old man? Naruto asked in a pain-filled raspy whisper while gritting his teeth against his agony. Hiruzen was quick to comfort the boy. She's fine, Naruto, you saved her and the scroll. It's extremely important. Why did you take the scroll? Naruto closed his eyes against the pain, trying to remember. As best he could, the boy spit out. Mizuki-sensei said it was a test to become Chunin. That confirms Hinata's story, Hiruzen thought anxiously. He was about to signal the nurse to place him back under when Hamura stopped him. Angrily, the Hokage, and everyone else, gave the man cold looks. Ignoring the glares, the elder pressed forward with questioning. Naruto Uzumaki, do you remember what happened to Mizuki? Do you remember how you killed him? I killed him? The boy questioned, uncertain. I didn't mean to. He was a traitor, Naruto, Sarutobi said to calm him while mouthing idiot fool at his colleague. Turning back to the Jinchuriki, he said kindly. You did nothing wrong. You saved Hinata and the scroll. Lord Hokage is right, Uzumaki-san, Hayashi said, walking up behind the old man. You saved my daughter and should be proud of that, not ashamed for a traitor's death. Mizuki was dead the moment he betrayed his village. Sarutobi signaled the Hyuga clan head to back off. He appreciated his words of comfort but wanted to get this over with. He looked back to his surrogate grandson and asked, "What do you remember of your fatal genjutsu?" Naruto rolled his head around on his pillow trying to find some comfort and think. My genjutsu, I don't know, no. Pant, my arm hurt, my head hurt, everything hurt. Hinata said something, can't remember, so much pain, still pain, everything's fuzzy. Just wanted to stop Mizuki. Hearing enough, Sarutobi signaled the nurse to put the young boy back under. She quickly complied and placed 2 glowing fingers on the boy's brow. Everyone watched relieved as sleep took him once again. The Hokage turned to Hamura but spoke, addressing the group. I hope Naruto's testimony satisfied everyone, because it won't be given again until after he awakens naturally. No one made any comment regarding the man's statement. They thanked the nurse for her help and regrouped back in the hallway. Looking at his old teammates, the Hokage inquired. Well, the only thing Naruto Uzumaki is guilty of is believing his sensei, correct? Yes, Sarutobi. Koharu concurred. We can't fault him for trusting a man we ourselves trusted. Both looked to Hamura, asking silently for his input. Agreed, Uzumaki did nothing purposely criminal nor treasonous. Thinking it over, the man continued cautiously. He knew Sarutobi well enough to know that the man's patience was growing thin. I admit this dojutsu of his has me worried. If what the boy explained is completely true, as in can he fully remember what happened, then the fatal genjutsu used against Mizuki was a reflex action. That's an extremely dangerous ability to not have full control over. Koharu nodded her head in agreement. Truly, Hamura, you are correct. Looking thoughtfully at the closed door of the boy's room, an idea struck the old woman like lightning. Perhaps there's information to be found in older families. I'm sure you, Sarutobi, have attempted to find facts regarding this ability with the shinobi clans and their records since the Uzumakis were lost, but did you check with the daimyo? His family records would possibly go back even further than many shinobi clans. You have a point, the Hokage said, pondering the possibility. I'll write the man as soon as I get back to the office. The old woman smiled, amused. It never changes, even after all these years. I'm still the only one that thinks on this team. Sarutobi chuckled, amused, as Hamura rolled his eyes. The old woman looked to Hinata's room next and said whimsically, Poor little Hinata, she gives Naruto a battlefield confession, and he doesn't remember it. Of course, after he gets better it might come back to him, who knows? Well, if there's nothing more, I have a few older kunoichi to go gossip with. I think we're done here, Hiruzen said. Lord Hyuga, I'll see you at the next council meeting. Kurenai, good day. With that, the Hokage left, followed by the elders. Hayashi and Kurenai remained in the hallway, though, the Jounin trying to figure out what the clan head was thinking. They were soon interrupted by Dr. Kawamoto approaching. The man looked confused by the fact they were just standing in the hallway and asked, Is there something wrong, Lord Hayashi, ma'am? No, nothing, the Hyuga said. Tell me, doctor, can I have my daughter discharged? I would feel more comfortable with her at home. I don't see why not, sir, Kawamoto explained. All she needs is rest, and Lady Hinata can get that at home. Is it imperative she leave today? I would feel more comfortable with her at home, that's all, Hayashi explained. Can you go and get her discharge papers? The man bowed and left quickly to do as asked. Hayashi leaned against the wall next to Hinata's door as if standing guard, closing his eyes to think. Kurenai gave the man a bemused look and asked, You can't honestly believe your daughter and Naruto would do anything inappropriate? Hinata being who she is and Naruto the same as her plus his injuries. As her father, I will sleep better knowing there's a village between my daughter and Naruto, rather than one empty hallway and 2 unlocked doors, was the answer Hayashi gave. Kurenai laughed a little and asked, Seriously, sir, you're that worried about it? Honestly, no, the Hyuga clan head answered truthfully with a sigh. However, I'm sure you have heard the story involving me and my wife. What most people don't know is that the night of her battlefield confession to me, I was too beaten and broken to move. So, who do you think crawled into whose bed and started that particular event? People say Hinata takes after Hitomi in both looks and personality, so forgive me if I'm concerned about my late wife's entire personality showing up in my daughter. As a husband, that side of Hitomi was appreciated, but I've learned the downside today. Opening his eyes and staring into the woman's red ones, the man continued. I'm also sure you've heard stories regarding Naruto's parents as well. Have you heard Kakashi Hatake talking about the training field incident? Kurenai nodded yes at the question, so Hayashi continued. I have a story of my own. Minato was late for a council meeting once, and I volunteered to go find him. I walked in on him and Kushina on his desk in the Hokage's office. She was bent over, and he was behind her. The man had the gall to look me right in the eye without pausing and say, I'll be with you in a minute. Kurenai was forced to keep a straight face as she desperately tried not to laugh. It took a moment, but eventually she calmed down. Giving Hayashi a kind smile, she said. Kushina was somewhat known as a wild redhead. Lord Forth would have had a hard time keeping his hands off her. Ha! The Hyuga Lord scoffed. Kushina my foot, it was Minato that caused all those incidents. The man told me once that his darling wife had a weakness, her left earlobe. According to him, if you nibbled on it, the woman was putty in your hands. That day with Kakashi in the clearing, poor Kushina had just been bringing Minato his lunch that he conveniently forgot at home. Hell, the day I walked in on them in Minato's office, all the windows were open, and it was the middle of the afternoon. The fourth hit it quite well, but the truth of the matter was he and Lord Jiraiya could have competed for the title of biggest pervert, and now his son just found out my Hinata has a thing for him. And don't say Naruto will probably not remember after he recovers. I'm not that lucky. Kurenai couldn't take it anymore and began giggling. She then gave Hayashi a cocky look and said, smiling, "Be that as it may, sir, your daughter could have done far worse than Naruto Uzumaki to hang her heart on, or would you prefer Sasuke Uchiha?" The cold look the man sent to Jounin was answer enough to what he thought of that scenario. He rolled his shoulders to get a little more comfortable on the wall and continued, "I have nothing against Naruto. I never did. Despite Minato's proclivities, no one could ever doubt he loved Kushina with all his heart, and his son shall be the same with whomever he loves as well. Any father would be lucky if their little princess got with a man like him. However, if he and Hinata do become a couple, the day will come when you see me chasing a little half-neck blonde boy down the street with a large katana blade, and Hinata chasing after begging me not to kill him." Both shinobi looked down the hall and saw the doctor approaching with the discharge papers in his hand. Hayashi sighed, resigning himself to the fact his daughter was growing up. He gave Kurenai a small smile and said happily, "It could be worse, I suppose. I could be the Jounin sensei in charge of those two potentially hormonal-driven teenagers." This comment caused the smile on Kurenai's face to leave. She hadn't thought of that. Another troubling thought crossed her mind as well. Has anyone had the sex talk with Naruto yet? Thinking to herself, the woman frantically concluded, Naruto doesn't have parents, so maybe Irika took the responsibility over. Please let him have taken the responsibility over. Crap, he's a man. They never take responsibility unless a woman forces them to. Early morning, Hokage's office. Sarutobi sat at his desk reading the final report pertaining to the sacred scroll theft incident. Officially, all matters were settled and Naruto was fully exonerated. However, despite everything they put the boy through to determine the truth quickly, many stubborn people still believed he was working with Mizuki, and that one idiot shop owner was still spewing the garbage that the Jinchuriki acted alone and the Chunin died trying to stop him. It was almost enough to sway Sarutobi to ram a kunai down the throat of the next person that accused Naruto of treason. The Hokage received word today that his surrogate grandson would finally be leaving the hospital. His arm had fully mended and everything was in working order. It had been 5 days since the incident occurred, which was longer than what had been predicted. Genin wouldn't be sorted into teams until this afternoon, so both Naruto and Hinata could attend. The young Hyuga heiress had her cast removed last night. Standing, Sarutobi lit his pipe and left to go visit his favorite little knucklehead. Chuckling, the old man remembered back on several complaints logged by Dr. Kawamoto that revolved around Naruto and Genjutsu. Apparently the blonde genin had picked up on the doctor's dislike and had begun making him see things with a false visual. The images ranged from zombies and ghosts to necked nurses and patients. Luckily for everyone's sanity, Nurse Hiromi moved the troublemaker to the children's ward so he could entertain the younger kids and leave the doctor in peace. The walk through the village was quiet and uneventful. Approaching the hospital and making his way through the main entrance, Sarutobi approached the visitor's desk. Smiling kindly at the middle-aged plum woman, the Hokage said, "Good morning, ma'am. I'm here to see Uzumaki Naruto." "Oh, the cute blonde that all the children love," the happy woman gushed. It was obvious to Sarutobi that at some point in her life the lady moved to Konoha from somewhere else, so therefore had never heard of Naruto. I don't know why that mean old Dr. Kawamoto finds that little boy so annoying. He's been using illusions to make all the sick kids from Kanko village feel better. Hiruzen was forced to repress his anger as the kind woman unknowingly reminded him of the poor people recently subjected to a cowardly attack. Some piece of garbage tried to poison the whole village just to steal what little they had unimpeded. Luckily for the residents of Kanko, a passing Leaf Chunin had noticed the signs of poisoning in the very young and elderly. Immediately notifying Leaf and requesting medical aid, the soon-to-be Jounin Kunoichi tracked down the bandit, identified the poison with questionable interrogation techniques, managed to get an antidote the man carried in case he accidentally poisoned himself, and handed it over to the 1st Division Medical Unit the moment they arrived so as to begin duplication to treat the villagers. What little remained of the bastard bandit was entertaining a Biki Marino at the moment, and it was doubtful he would ever again see the light of day. The younger children and elderly had been brought to Konoha for further treatment. They were no longer being poisoned but were still in danger of dying because of complications. Unfortunately, most of the elderly hadn't survived the trip and even more had passed away in the hospital. Thanking the kind nurse, the Hokage made his way to the children's ward. Walking in, he saw 8 beds lined up on either side of the room holding young ones, 3 boys and 5 girls, and Naruto sitting in a chair, wearing blue scrubs with his right arm still in a sling as a precaution awaiting doctor's orders, making a large spider tap dance across the floor. All the young children watched unhappily at the tap-dancing spider with white shoes and a top hat. "Well, I see you've found a way to train while staying in the hospital, Naruto," Sarutobi said, smiling amused. The ever-exuberant blonde looked up quick at Hiruzen's voice. "Hey old man, what brings you here?" Several children looked up curiously at the Hokage, some looked afraid of the stranger. Hiruzen tried to come off as lovingly as possible in hopes of placating their fear. "I just came to inform you that as of today your arm is completely fine. It was actually healed several days ago, but the hospital kept you longer just to be sure. Nurse Hiromi was worried about repercussions on your chakra network because of how badly you overused the divine embodiment technique. You can change back into your normal clothes and leave." Yahoo! The Jinchuriki exclaimed excitedly while jumping skyward. "No more hospital food, no more checkups, no more Kawamoto, I'm free." "Does that mean you won't play with us anymore, Naruto?" a sad little voice asked from the corner. It belonged to a small girl around the age of 4 with big green eyes and striking black hair done up in pigtails. "Of course it doesn't, Rio," the blonde said, quickly reassuring the small girl. "I'll come see you guys as often as I can. I can even send a shadow clone every day as well." Explaining that, Naruto quickly formed one solid copy to demonstrate. The small children had big smiles on their faces at the sight of 2 older blonde kids. The Jinchuriki said goodbye to everyone and left with the Hokage to retrieve his stuff from his room. The old man turned to close the door and watched as the kids happily clapped at the colorful butterflies dancing across the room. Not much longer, the Hokage followed his favorite knucklehead out into the street. Sarutobi noticed that Naruto, now dressed in his usual orange jumpsuit, had a thoughtful look on his face. Such an expression was very unusual for the blonde. "Curious?" Hiruzen asked. "Is there something wrong, Naruto? Usually you're not this quiet. You haven't asked me to take you for ramen once." The boy didn't speak up right away. He took his time working out the words in his head before trying to start. "GG." Warning sirens began blaring in the third Hokage's head. The fact his surrogate grandson was staring this conversation with Gigi, and having a hard time finding the words, just meant dangerously confusing and deep. He began looking for a way out quick. It wasn't that he didn't love the boy and want to help. Hiruzen just worked better as a sensei and teacher more so than a parent. Just ask his own kids. The blonde seemed like he had his question right in his head. "Gigi, what do you know about?" "Oh, Naruto, I'm sorry," Hiruzen quickly said, laughing nervously. "I just remembered some important paperwork back in the office that needs my immediate attention." Naruto sighed a little dejected but brightened up immediately. Giving the Hokage a big smile while scratching the back of his head, Naruto exclaimed, "Oh, well, okay, old man. I'll go get some ramen at Ichiraku's, then go train. There's still a jutsu I'm working on." Feeling a little bad about blowing Naruto off, Hiruzen said jovially, "Tell you what, Naruto, just have your meal placed on my tab. I don't mind." "Really?" the blonde said excitedly. "Yeah, now I can eat all the bowls I want. I'm going to have miso, pork, chicken, maybe all 3 combined in one bowl. Hell, I might even try vegetable. On second thought, who would want vegetable? Yuck." Sarutobi watched Naruto walk off excitedly reciting all the ramen he planned to eat. The Kage felt his money pouch lighten with each word the young boy spoke. Completely worth it. It would seem Hayashi's fears have come to pass. Naruto remembers Hinata's battlefield confession. He was probably going to ask awkward questions regarding girls and relationships. More than likely the dreaded sex talk was also approaching. Hopefully, he will feel comfortable talking things over with Ichiraku, but I'd better send for Irika just in case. Riverbank. Irika Yumino walked through the old wood path heading for Naruto's usual training area. The Hokage had sent word that the boy was working on a jutsu and would possibly need help. Never one to turn down a request from Sarutobi or a chance to help his little brother, the Chunin had hurried through the last of his paperwork finalizing teams and headed out to find the young Jinchuriki. Teams this year would be done differently. The new genin wouldn't arrive at the academy until this afternoon. They would be told their teams and immediately head out with their new jounin instructors. This was because of Naruto and Hinata mainly. They had been forced to postpone the team placement by several days so both kids could heal up and be present. If not, then their classmates could have taken the true genin exam and tipped of one of Team 8 to what happened. This would seriously undermine Sakura, Hinata, and Naruto's test result, Was there actual true teamwork and unity or just clever kids passing? The fact such precautions were needed still filled the Chunin with anger towards Mizuki, though he hated himself most of all. No matter how many people told him it wasn't his fault, no matter how many people explained they worked with the white-haired bastard as well, no matter how many flat-out said he fooled them just as much as Iruka himself, they couldn't deny the fact that traitor worked closer with the brown-haired Chunin than anyone. The scarred-faced man failed to see that bastard for who he truly was, and it almost got 2 of his students killed. Coming to the edge of the woods, Iruka saw Naruto reading something of a small piece of paper. Walking up, the eagle eyes of the man read a list of hand signs. Curious, he asked. What you got there, Naruto? Startled, the young boy turned quickly to see his favorite teacher walking up. You scared me, sensei. Iruka looked down at the boy expectantly with a kind smile. However, the expression left his face and was replaced by shock when Naruto folded the paper, placing it back in his pocket, saying, It's not that important right now, sensei. Not important? Since when was a jutsu not important to Naruto? Was there actually something else on his mind more important than jutsu? A bewildered Iruka pondered. Sensei, what do you know about girls? The young boy asked awkwardly. Damn you, Hiruzen Sarutobi! The horrified Chunin thought in his head, now realizing just what the Hokage actually wanted. I was so close, damn it. He was getting a new sensei today, and now this conversation comes up. Outload, the man calmly asked, uncertain. What do you want to know exactly, Naruto? Is this a physical question or personal? Blushing, the Jinchuriki admitted. I already had the birds and the bees talk, sensei. Old man Ichiraki gave me that when I first broke into the adult bookstore. Looking at the pictures were confusing, so I asked him to explain what I was seeing. It caused a commotion when a 7-year-old flashed that kind of magazine in a crowded restaurant. Thank you, Tuchi Ichiraku, higher powers, and the porn industry. Iruka thought, relieved. Looking closer at Naruto, he took an educated guess. I'm figuring you remember more about the end of your battle with that traitor Mizuki now that your arm's all better? The rumor mill has been churning all over the village. Apparently Honorable Elder Koharu told everyone after Hinata explained what happened to the Hokage. The blonde blushed even deeper while thinking. Battlefield confession. I never realized they could be so awkward. The first time I heard the term, I pictured Sakura-chan giving me one right after defeating some powerful enemy. Oddly enough, he looked a lot like Sasuke in my head. Now Hinata-chan gives me one, while I'm suffering from a broken arm and not triumphantly standing over a defeated jerk, and I don't know what to do. Out loud, the orange-clad boy asked. How do I know when I like a girl? I think I like Sakura, but Hinata said she loves me, so should I like Hinata instead? Also, when does like become love? Iruka was trying to break the boy's question down into actual coherent thought. Little tough guy doesn't want to say he might love someone, or he's just honestly confused by his feelings. Hinata loves Naruto, and Naruto might love Sakura or Hinata. Kurenai is going to have such a headache with this team. The only thing that could make it worse would be if Sakura had feelings for Hinata. Bad Iruka, don't go there, bad thought. Focus back on Naruto. Little brother needs brotherly advice. Look, Naruto, I can't really tell you when your emotions change from like to love. The Chunin tried explaining. That's something only you in your heart will know. However, just because Hinata confessed her love to you doesn't mean you're obligated to love her back. Try just being her friend first, and see what develops. Get to know both girls, don't just go by looks. You and Hinata might find you really aren't compatible as a couple and just stay good friends, or you could develop true feelings for one another. That's really all you can do. Naruto didn't like the answer but figured it was as good as he was going to get. Thanks, sensei. I'll try getting to know Hinata better first, and then decide. Iruka looked at the blonde apologetically. He truly wished he could tell him exactly what to do, but this was a situation Naruto had to figure out on his own. It was just one of many trials life gave you growing up. Trying to take the boy's mind off his troubles, the Chunin asked. So, what jutsu were you working on when I walked up? The orange-clad boy seemed to come out of his deep thoughts to speak. He answered in an offhand manner. Oh, I learned it from the sacred scroll, exploding shadow clone jutsu. What? Iruka asked in a worried voice. Yeah, I memorized the hand signs and wrote them down the moment I was able. The boy explained, unaware of Iruka's growing fear. I didn't have a chance to learn it at the cabin while I was waiting for Mizuki. Would have been nice to have for the fight. Looking up at his sensei happily, Naruto asked. Do you want to see me use it? I haven't tried to do it yet. Iruka was still petrified with fear, so failed to stop the boy from making hand signs. The young genin happily called out. Exploding shadow clone jutsu. A perfect replica of the Jinchuriki appeared and happily ran about 50 yards away. It turned back to his creator and Iruka before smiling, waving goodbye, and detonating. The Chunin had begun hand signs the moment Naruto created the living bomb. Just as the clone exploded, the academy teacher erected a wall of rock with a cry. Earth release, stone wall jutsu. The explosion and force were both immense. The ground shook as nearby trees were knocked over by the shockwave. Behind the wall of stone, Iruka hunkered down with his student as the danger passed. Finally, when the Chunin felt the last tremor stop, the wall crumbled and he and Naruto looked out at the destruction. The scarred-faced man looked out in shock at a 10-yard wide by 10-yard deep crater. The outer wall closest to the river gave way and water began filling up the new pond. That was awesome! Naruto exclaimed happily. I could literally create an army of smart bombs. The brown-haired Chunin looked down at the boy still in shock. Never before has a statement been so true and terrifying. The village is completely screwed. I need to warn people immediately. The blonde happily turned to his teacher to ask what he thought, but saw that Iruka had disappeared in a hurry. Probably went to tell Gigi just how awesome I am. Looking back at the new pond he just created and the blown-over trees, Naruto had another thought. It would probably be a good idea to find somewhere else to experiment with this jutsu. I don't want to destroy the woods. Academy entrance. Hinata walked through the large gates headed for class. She was excited about finally getting on a team and seeing Naruto-kun again. For the last few days the shy girl had been on bed rest. Hayashi had never shown her so much attention, and the indigo-haired girl was grateful to finally get some breathing room from an overbearing father. As Hinata approached the building, two people came up on either side of the girl and threw an arm around her shoulders. Startled, the young kunoichi looked left and right to see both Sakura Haruno and Ino Yamanaka grinning like cats that just trapped a canary. She also felt like the canary. The young Hyuga heiress had always admired both girls for their lovely long hair and confidence. She herself kept her hair short so it wouldn't get in the way when she fought, though she allowed two bangs in front to grow down her face. Looking left, Hinata asked the pinkette Sakura shyly, "Can I help you with something?" "We heard very interesting rumor recently," Ino said mischievously, forcing the trapped girl to look right. "Honorable Elder Kohara had tea with my grandmother and told her something fascinating." The Hyuga blushed a deep red, realizing what the two gossipers wanted. However, seeing the shy girl turn an alarming shade of red told Sakura and Ino all they needed to know. Both smiled brightly as the truth was fully confirmed. "So, what are you going to do?" Sakura asked. "Apparently right after talking with you, the Hokage talked with Naruto to compare stories. According to Elder Hamura, the knucklehead doesn't remember much after Mizuki broke his arm." "What?" Hinata asked, startled. "No one told me that." "Yeah, we know it's a tragedy," Ino said sympathetically. "You give the blonde dope a battlefield confession and he forgets, though that does sound like something Naruto would do. Hey though, you never know, now that Naruto's all healed up he just might remember, or someone could walk up to him and ask questions that jogs his memory." Walking into class, all three girls separated and took their seats, Hinata in the back while Sakura and Ino sat up front. The blonde and pinkette continued to talk about the possibly new young couple, while the indigo-haired girl fantasized about holding hands on long walks with her Naruto-kun. It wasn't much longer that other kids began to arrive. One was a little light brown-haired hateful boy in a gray sock cap that wore his headband around his neck named Hibachi. This rude little runt hated Naruto because his parents told him the blonde was a no-good troublemaker and demon. Angrily the boy marched up to the Hyuga heiress and demanded with a shout, "Why did you lie to save that traitor?" The young kunoichi came out of her daydream in confusion as the class got quiet. Looking at the angry boy, Hinata spoke nervously. "Traitor, do you mean Mizuki?" "I didn't lie about anything he did, Hibachi-san." "You know damned well what I mean," the boy accused, outraged. "You lied about Mizuki-sensei being the traitor and Naruto being the hero. It was the other way around. Naruto kidnapped you and stole the scroll. Mizuki-sensei died stopping him." "What?" Hinata asked, shocked. She wasn't the only one either. The room wasn't even half full yet, but every child present was giving Hibachi looks of disbelief. Several looked like they were trying not to laugh at his stupidity. There came a sigh from the upper right corner, followed by a mumbled troublesome. The angry boy looked accusingly up at another young man that appeared to have been asleep in the right side corner, his light brown hair poking out the back of his gray sock cap dancing through the wind from the speed of his head turn, and accusingly asked, "You got something to say, Shikamaru?" The genin, a boy with a wild ponytail of black hair that stood almost straight up resembling a pineapple, was Shikamaru Nara, easily one of the smartest kids of his generation even if the grades didn't show it. He was the type that kept everyone's expectations of himself low, so he didn't have to try so hard. Even so, everyone in the academy knew of his formidable intelligence, as it was apparent when he actually participated in class, so his laziness greatly angered his mom and various sensei. Looking at Hibachi, the lazy genius asked. Your dad's a chunin and owner of that corner store a few blocks from Memorial Park, right? The angry brat glared up at Shikamaru and said, Yeah, what of it? Looking to the confused Hyuga heiress, Shikamaru explained. The morning you, Naruto, and Mizuki were found along with the sacred scroll, several stories began circulating about what happened. Lord Hokage placed a gag order on the investigation, but someone talked anyway. The two big theories were Naruto himself was working with Mizuki to steal the scroll and turn on Sensei when he saw him kidnapping you as well, or Mizuki forced Naruto to get it for him by using you as a hostage. That was why the Hokage and village elders were so quick to question you and Naruto about what happened. After the two of you confirmed the same story, the matter of Naruto's guilt or innocences should have been put to rest, but some people won't let it go apparently. Hinata looked at Shikamaru like he had turned pink. How could anyone think Naruto was a traitor? Towards the front of the class, Sakura began laughing at the absurdity of both Hibachi's accusations and the indigo-haired girl's face. This action caused Hibachi to turn on her. What do you find so funny, Sakura? At the boy's mean tone, Sakura sobered up. Glaring at the fool, the pinkette said harshly, I find it funny that someone as stupid as you would be given a headband. You honestly think Naruto Uzumaki, the most annoying person to ever attend the academy, the guy that does nothing else but go on and on about being Hokage, the guy that stuck it out trying to pass the final exam 3 times and finally succeed on his 3rd attempt, decided to turn traitor the day after becoming genin? It makes sense, Hibachi said, not wanting to concede the argument. His parents were hoping if enough people petitioned the Hokage about Naruto's guilty, the boy would at least be exiled. They had encouraged anyone that would listen to continue pressing the claim, and the foolish bully was determined to convince some of his fellow classmates. Think about it, Naruto probably thought when he became a genin people would treat him differently. However, nothing changed or got better, so he decided to steal the scroll and kidnap Lady Hinata. Ino, and everyone else, had looks of complete disbelief. The Yamanaka shook her head bewildered and said, I'm really glad you're not blonde because we get a bad enough rep already. I wish I had a full-length mirror to hold up and show you just how stupid you look. Every brunette in this village should stone you into submission, or until you grew something resembling a brain. Honestly, on behalf of me and my fellow blondes, Naruto included, thanks. Hibachi looked at Ino red-faced and furious. Calling him stupid was the same as calling his parents stupid. Opening his mouth to continue the argument, everyone heard another student interject coldly. Shut up already. The foolish boy looked to his left and saw 2 boys sitting at another table. One wore sunglasses, a baggy beige coat with a high collar, and a bushy hairstyle of dark brown hair. The second boy wore a light gray coat with a dark gray furry collar, had 2 red markings like fangs on his cheeks, and a slightly lighter shade of wild brown hair than his friend. A small white puppy was sleeping on the desk in front of him. What did you say to me, Kiba? Hibachi yelled. Just because you're from some big clan like the Inuzuka doesn't mean I'm afraid of you. You should be. The boy's companion spoke up as Kiba bared his dog-like teeth with a growl. You're speaking nonsense regarding someone that put his life on the line to protect our village and classmate. I, Shino Aburame, will gladly help Kiba in taking corrective action, not that he would need any help. The room became filled with tension as everyone wondered what would happen next. Either the idiot Hibachi would back down or Kiba was going to beat the hell out of him. Such a fight wouldn't even be called fair, not even if the dog-loving Inuzuka tied both hands behind his back. It was quite possible the loud-mouthed idiot wearing the stupid sock cap was going to the hospital in multiple broken pieces. However, before any blood could be drawn, the tension was broken by the very ramen-loving idiot the class had been discussing. Naruto came in whistling as he happily thought of a prank he could pull on Sasuke and the kunoichi of his class. His happy tune came to a stop when every head turned his way though. Even someone as oblivious as he could sense the dissipating tension. Hi guys, what's up? He asked with an uncertain smile. His eyes traveled the room before landing on Hinata. The moment his baby blues zeroed in on the pale-eyed heiress, the blonde blushed lightly while shuffling his feet. Every girl present in the room squealed in their minds. He remembers, yeah. Hinata's own face took on a scarlet color as she too realized what the other kunoichi were mentally cheering about. However, before the blonde-haired hero could make his way up to the young girl and fumble his way through a love story scene, the newly dubbed biggest fool in the academy Hibachi marched down to the former biggest fool in the academy Naruto and got in his whiskered face. What are you doing here, traitor? How dare you show your face in this class? What? A bewildered Naruto asked. Here he was still trying to wrap his mind around possible like feelings for both Sakura and Hinata, wondering which one he liked more, and Hibachi was talking nonsense. You heard me, traitor! The rude fool screamed in his face. How dare you show your face here in Mizuki-sensei's classroom after you murdered him? Naruto just blinked rapidly, trying to catch his mind up with what he was hearing. First of all, Hibikaze, this is Iruka-sensei's classroom and Mizuki was the assistant sensei, not a full sensei. Second, Mizuki was the traitor, not me. So, what are you talking about? Kiba explained, still growling in anger. This fool's father has been spreading a rumor that you were behind everything and Mizuki died stopping you. After which Lord Hokage and the village elders covered it up to protect you. Also, Hayashi Hyuga made Hinata lie to protect you or something like that. Honestly, he never got around to explaining why he thinks Hinata's lying. It's obvious, Hibachi said exasperatedly, as if everyone should already know. She's been in love with this traitor from day one. Probably thought being abducted by him was romantic, or something. Mizuki ruined her fantasy, so that's why she lied. Do you even hear yourself right now? Sakura said in complete shock. Just when we think you can't possibly get any dumber, you surprise everyone by finding new depths to your own stupidity. What girl in their right mind would find being kidnapped romantic? Ino was in complete agreement with her rival and friend. In the back, the blonde thought she heard a cough that sounded like Sasuke. Turning quickly, though, the Yamanaka kunoichi couldn't identify the culprit. Angrily, the blonde thought, there's a big difference between a surprise romantic getaway and forceful abduction, jackass. Poor Hinata was cherry tomato red, as she was in fact guilty of fantasizing about Naruto stealing her away for a romantic picnic one or twice, but to have the rude boy put it in such a scandalous way was so embarrassing. Shikamaru looked from the embarrassed girl to the angry Naruto, and realized this was about to get violent. Trying to defuse the situation before Hinata's blue-eyed sweetheart pummeled the idiot standing in his face, the young Nara explained an obvious truth. Hibachi, you realize you're pissing off the only genin in this class that has actually fought and killed an accomplished chunin. As Sakura said, you just keep finding greater depths to your own stupidity, and if you keep going, Naruto's going to help you find the bottom in a very painful fashion. Also, none of us are going to stop him. Unlike you, we aren't too keen on putting our lives on the line to discover Naruto's true ability. The idiot ignored Shikamaru and turned back to Naruto, only to be met with very cold blue eyes. It took all of Hibachi's self-control to not gulp. Trying to shake off his sudden fear, the boy rudely scoffed. Hump, you're not worth the time and effort, traitor. I know the truth, and that's all that matters. Naruto watched the idiot walk off without comment. Sadly, he was used to people hating him for no reason. Shrugging while rolling his eyes, the blonde made his way up to the indigo-haired girl. Can I sit here, Hinata-chan? Chan, he called me Chan. Hinata thought excitedly. Don't faint, don't faint, don't faint. All the poor girl could do was nod her head yes. The young hero happily sat down next to her right side. Looking at Hinata's forearm, he asked, concerned, Is your arm okay? Hinata, who noticed every kunoichi was staring in her direction, said in a calm as manner as possible. Oh yes, I had the cast removed last night. I've regained the full bone density. Bone density? You mean how strong your bone is, right? The confused boy asked for clarification. At Hinata's shy nod, he continued with a babble. They weren't worried about my bone strength, just my chakra network, or something. Apparently overusing the jutsu Lord Hokage taught me combined with a shattered collarbone had several medic ninja worried. I don't really know why though. I was still fine using jutsu to torment that mean Dr. Kawamoto by bringing my left hand up to my right. You know, because of the cast. Oh, that reminds me. Hinata felt the boy's chakra reacting so discreetly activated her Byakugan. She watched as Naruto's Yumigan became ignited by the dawn-colored flame while spinning this way and that to look at every girl in class. By now almost everyone had arrived except for a few boys. The blonde snickered to himself, and silently formed hand signs under the table. With a whisper he said, Genjutsu art, false visual. Hinata watched through her special eyes as the young Jinchuriki's chakra pulsed out, followed closely by a purple pulse from his third eye. Everyone in class felt the chakra pulse, one that was much smaller and controlled compared to the hasty one she witnessed battling Mizuki, but no one seemed to figure out where it came from. Most probably didn't know what they were feeling anyways. Hinata noticed two things in her field of vision. The first was two girls on the far left side talking to one another, discussing why Naruto hadn't kissed her already. Apparently several kunoichi were hoping for a storybook love scene. The other was Sasuke Uchiha walking down the hallway. The Hyuga was a little confused by what she was seeing, until she realized exactly what her not-so-secret anymore crush was doing. Thinking to herself about the reaction this would cause, the Hyuga kunoichi just thought sadly, Oh Naruto-kun. Sasuke Uchiha strutted down the hallway heading for class. Thanks to all those annoying fangirls, the boy was forced to arrive exactly at the bell. Otherwise the kunoichi, a term he used sarcastically, tried to sit next to him and talk, or in many cases beg for a date. None of them realized that the boy couldn't give them what they wanted until he avenged his fallen clan. He was an avenger first and a potentially Uchiha clan head and father second. Walking through the door, the boy prepared himself for the squeals of Sasuke-kun as he headed for his usual seat. However, hearing instead the sounds of girl talk go eerily quiet, the Uchiha paused in his walk to look at his fellow classmates. What he saw in the faces of every girl except Hinata Hyuga filled him with an uneasiness. Every kunoichi was red-faced and a few had blood leaking from their noses. The young boy felt like a rabbit being starved at by hungry wolves. Up in his desk, Naruto couldn't take it anymore and hit the ground laughing his ass off. Poor Hinata didn't know who to be more ashamed of really, her crush or the kunoichi that feel for such an obvious genjutsu. Shyly, the Hyuga heiress explained to the class. Every kunoichi, Sasuke isn't really necked. Naruto-kun just placed you all under a genjutsu to see him that way. The boys around the classroom began looking to the laughing Naruto on the ground, the red-faced hungry-looking kunoichi still staring at Sasuke, and the angry embarrassed Uchiha standing in the front. Everyone either not affected by the genjutsu, or those who snapped out of it at Hinata's words, began helping those still affected. Finally, having enough of Naruto's laughing, Sasuke marched up the stairs and demanded, "What the hell is wrong with you, idiot?" "The look ha 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 on your face, priceless," Naruto gasped out between laughing. The girls looked so excited. Ha 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 ha. Growling at the fact the blonde wasn't intimidated by him in the slightest, Sasuke demanded, "Where the hell did you learn genjutsu anyways?" It took the Jinchuriki a moment to calm down enough to choke out, "Iruka-sensei." Ha 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 ha. However, Naruto's laughing came to a crashing halt when he felt a large amount of killing intent. Quickly jumping up at the feel of danger, the boy saw every kunoichi glaring daggers at him, Sakura in the lead. "Naruto," the pinkette said menacingly while cracking her knuckles. "You're so dead." "Can't we talk about this?" the blonde asked fearfully. Hokage's office. Hiruzen stood around a small crystal ball with those jounin chosen to be sensei this year. Within the orb, everyone present could see what was going on inside Iruka's classroom. The Hokage had already made a note to call in Hibachi's soon-to-be demoted back to genin father and berate him for blatant stupidity. He, along with everyone else, had seen Naruto use genjutsu against the kunoichi of his class. The shinobi present were appalled by just how easy the young girls of this year fell for such an obvious illusion. Well, most were anyway. "Ha ha 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 ha. Did you see their faces?" Enko Mitarashi said while laughing in a corner. "I thought they would eat him. I also thought Sasuke was about to jump out a window. Ha 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 ha." "It's not funny, Enko," Kurenai said with an angry frown. "You do realize those girls represent you, me, and every other woman that has ever worn a headband. I have half a mind to go down there, demand they all return their headbands, and go home." "That would be an extreme reaction, don't you think?" Asuma Sarutobi, the oldest son of Hiruzen, asked his not-so-secret girlfriend. The angry red eyes of Kurenai told him all he needed to know. Wisely, he backed down without another word. The third Hokage felt a headache coming on. Where in the name of Konoha was Iruka anyways? The only reason any of them were still here was because the Chunin had failed to show and hand in his final report on genin teams. He still had to go down and tell the students exactly which team they were on. A knock came from the door as the Chunin finally showed up. Everyone noticed that a fine layer of dust and sweat clung to his usual pristine clothing. "Sorry I'm late, Lord Hokage, everyone, but I was refortifying my apartment." The assembled jounin were confused by this statement. You only refortified living dwellings when attack was a strong possibility. The Hokage asked curiously. "Is there something wrong, Iruka? Last time I checked there wasn't an army heading for Hidden Leaf." Iruka gave a humorless laugh and said, "War would be preferable to the horror I just witnessed. Turns out Naruto didn't just learn the Shadow Clone Jutsu from the Forbidden Scroll. Oh no, he happily told me about the second one, then demonstrated the exploding Shadow Clone Jutsu. There's a new pond where the training field by East River used to be." The Hokage, along with everyone else, stood in horrified, shocked silence. Hiruzen was concerned about the paperwork this would possibly involve. This was potentially a worse disaster than the time a bunch of faulty paper bombs got sent through the mail as a joke. No one was hurt, but hardly anyone had eyebrows for weeks, and the horrifying amounts of paperwork. It was one of Kushina's greatest pranks ever. The old man calmed down when he remembered the cherished knowledge Minato had left him with regarding shadow clones and notice me not genjutsu. "I can see why such a thing would be concerning Iruka," the Hokage said kindly. "However, I doubt Naruto would use such a dangerous technique within the village itself. I and Naruto would both be dead right now if I didn't know the Earth Release, Stone Wall Jutsu." The Chunin growled back defiantly. Hiruzen thought it over and said, "Well, yes, I'm sure Kurenai can fully stress the importance of jutsu safety." The horrified genjutsu mistress was wondering if it was too late to switch the teams back to their original order. Kakashi was happily thanking whatever higher power had gifted Naruto with Yamigan. 1. Iruka's classroom. The academy sensei walked in to see his former pupils sitting quietly, the Kunoichi and Uchiha still fuming. Naruto sat in the back by Hinata. The girl was placing an ointment on a large black eye. Every young girl except the Hyuga heiress looked to Iruka expectantly. It was Ami, one of the new genin Kunoichi and former class bully, that spoke up before anyone. "Sensei!" she cried. "That idiot Naruto attacked all the girls with a genjutsu." The scarred-faced man had already been informed about the incident from Hiruzen. He looked at the young brightly purple-colored-haired girl and stated with amused authority. "Those accusations are quite serious, Genin Ami. Tell me exactly what this technique did, please." Embarrassed, the girl explained what she and every Kunoichi saw. Iruka shook his head at the girl's statement and clarified. "All the girls saw Sasuke Uchiha walk in completely nude, and not one of you snapped to the fact it was genjutsu?" Sheepishly, the Kunoichi all around the room blushed embarrassed. Iruka looked at each one, studying their young faces to make sure they understood just how pathetically simple that technique was, also, how pathetic they themselves had been for falling for it. Wanting to make sure the lesson sunk in, he explained. "Had Naruto been an enemy trying to distract you to quietly slit your throats, he would have succeeded. Let's hope our enemies don't learn the collective weakness of every Kunoichi in your generation." "You're being a little hard, aren't you, Iruka-sensei?" Naruto said, coming to the defense of the girls. "It was a harmless prank." "That's the problem, Naruto. You literally beat every Kunoichi, minus Hinata, without even really trying," Iruka explained. "Do you remember the various pranks you've pulled over the years? Do you remember the punishments you received for the different ones? If not, I can help you out without looking over your record. Any prank that was simply property damage, like painting the Hokage mountain, got you detention, while any prank that taught a lesson got you a firm talking about respecting your classmates." "Sakura!" Iruka barked. The young girl jumped in her seat, giving the man her full attention. "Do you remember the first prank Naruto pulled on the entire class?" The pinkette thought about it and said, unsure. "Was it the paint bombs in the lockers?" "Yes, it was," the Chunin answered. "That little prank ruined a lot of your clothes because Naruto didn't use washable paint. Many of your parents, those of students that fell for the prank anyway, came to Lord Hokage to demand restitution for the ruined clothing. Do any of you have any idea what words Lord Hokage spoke to your angry parents to make them drop their claims without payment?" The stunned students said nothing as they were mesmerized by their sensei's lecture. Seeing no one had an answer to his question, Iruka continued. "He asked your parents what was more important, your children's clothes or their lives. During times of war, enemy nations can and will attack the children in hopes of removing the adults well to fight. Had that been an actual enemy attack, those paint bombs would have done far worse than embarrass you and cost your parents some money. They could have been paper bombs, poison release pellets, or shrapnel bombs. Your classmate taught you all a valuable lesson about enemy traps and you all failed to learn from it. You're genin now, not snot-nosed academy students, act like it." Iruka allowed the kids a few moments of silence, giving time for his words to sink in, before continuing. "I will now assign you to your teams. Your new Jounin sensei will come and get you during the remainder of class. You will sit and wait for them here. Some of you won't like the people on your team, I assure you that no one cares, live with it. If not, you can hand over your headbands and leave." When no one volunteered their headbands, Iruka began calling teams. After the first 5 teams, he came to the last 4. Team 6 will be Hibachi Adachi, Amisita, and Toru Fuse. Both school bullies looked over at a kid with ankle-long black hair and a samurai sword at his hip. He gave no reaction to the team at all except to straight his brown battle kimono. Team 7. Iruka continued. Sasuke Uchiha, Kiba Inuzuka, and Shino Aburame under Jounin instructor Kakashi Hatake. Ino and Sakura had looks of disappointment on their faces at not getting on Team 7. However, Shikamaru had a thoughtful look on his face, thinking, "There's still 3 girls and 3 boys remaining. That means one team is going to have 2 girls possibly, or a team of 3 girls. Please don't let me be on a 2-girl team. I know the possibility is small, but please not me." Iruka looked down at his list and read. Team 8. Naruto Uzumaki, Sakura Haruno, and Hinata Hyuga under Jounin instructor Kurenai Yuri. "Thank you, higher powers." The Nara thought, relieved. A team with 2 girls and a woman, oh the horror. Poor Naruto's going to have 3 of them demons nagging him daily. Team 9 is still in circulation. So, Team 10 will be Shikamaru Nara, Choji Akimichi, and Ino Yamanaka under Jounin instructor Asuma Sarutobi. The Chunin sensei finished. "That is all, good luck everyone." The teams began to group together and talk. Sakura wished Ino luck and moved up to Naruto and Hinata. "Hi guys." Hello again, Sakura, Hinata said with a timid smile. I've known Kurenai-sensei for a few years. I'm sure you will both like her. She's an expert on illusions, Hidden Leaf's genjutsu mistress. So, she's going to teach us genjutsu? Sakura pondered. That's cool, I suppose. Several of the academy teachers have told me it would be one of the best fields to try and master with my current abilities. As Hinata and Sakura talked, Naruto sat quietly thinking. Of all the rotten luck, I don't mind being on a team with either girl, but I was kind of hoping for some distance to get my feelings straight. Now both will be with me daily. How can I possibly figure out what my feelings are with both girls I possibly like hanging around me all the time? Oh well, at least I'm not on a team with that jerk Sasuke. As Naruto sat contemplating his current girl troubles, a beautiful raven-haired woman with striking red eyes and a shirt made of wraps came in. She looked up at Team 8 and waited for Hinata to recognize her. The young heiress noticed her mentor almost right away and brought both her new teammates down to meet their new sensei. Hello everyone, I'm Kurenai Yuhi. The Jounin introduced herself. Meet me at Training Ground 3 as quickly as possible. With that she puffed away in a cloud of smoke. All three genin said goodbye to their old class and Irika-sensei. Leaving the building, Naruto asked out loud. Do you guys know where Training Ground 3 is located? Yeah, I do, Sakura said, angrily annoyed. I read about it when I did my book report on the Third Great Ninja War. It was created to simulate battlefields located in the land of Earth. It's a giant rocky terrain located out by the West Gate. There's not much over there really, practically deserted except for a few small farm huts and military outposts. I wonder why our training field is so far away, Hinata pondered. It's like they don't want our training to destroy anything important. I don't see how genjutsu training could be so destructive though. You would think Team 7 would need a place such as that to train, not us. The orange-loving blonde wisely kept his mouth shut as an image of a new pond surfaced to the front of his mind. I guess Irika-sensei told Gigi just how badass I am. Team 8 walked past the last little farm hut and village gate, heading further into the barren landscape of Training Ground 3. In front of them lay nothing but a few scattered trees and rocky hills. Sakura looked to her quiet teammates curiously. Usually Naruto would be going a mile a minute, but today he actually appeared deep in thought. It was a little unnerving. So what actually happened during Mizuki-sensei's betrayal? The pinkette asked in hopes of breaking the silence. Naruto blinked, coming out of his head, and focused on the girl. He thought about it for a second and asked, What all did you hear? Hinata looked between her teammates curiously, wondering the same thing. Throughout her recovery at home, no one at any time bothered to mention that Naruto himself had been accused of treason. The pale-eyed girl was wondering what else people got wrong. Sakura was a little taken back by the question. Oh, you know. It was rumors at first mostly. I think the most outrageous one I heard was Hidden Stone or Cloud tried to kidnap Hinata while stealing the scroll. Naruto and Mizuki were in the woods training and accidentally stumbled over the plot, stopping it. It wasn't long before the official story came out though. The pinkette assured her stunned teammates. Honestly, I never heard of anyone accusing you, Naruto, of treason until today. I heard wild rumors regarding how you killed Mizuki, since that part of the story was never fully explained. Something to do with village security was the official reason given. The many ways you took Mizuki out ranged from casually ripping him limb from limb with brute strength to S-rank jutsu. I also heard someone say you turned into a monster and ate him. Several people also thought Hinata was a Jounin-level taijutsu master, and she actually took the traitor out all by herself, but that rumor died quickly since she was abducted by Mizuki so early in the day. Naruto was going over what Sakura explained. Honestly, the brute strength part was somewhat accurate, and he understood the dark idea of him becoming a monster so as to eat Mizuki, stupid fox. Lord Hokage did teach me a strength-enhancing jutsu, but it wasn't much help. If that bastard Mizuki would have held still long enough, I could have caved his skull in with a single punch. His taijutsu was just way better than mine. Don't get discouraged, Naruto, he was a chunin after all. Hinata comforted the blonde. I don't really know if any of our classmates could have taken him one-on-one, or even two-on-one. Thanks, Hinata, Naruto said, smiling. The young Hyuga smiled happily while blushing and looked away. Aw, they're so cute together. I gotta help Hinata land him, plus, he'll leave me alone, Sakura thought, gushing. Giving both her new teammates curious looks, the Kunoichi asked. So how exactly did you guys defeat Mizuki? Hinata was unsure how to answer that question. She understood Naruto's Yamigan killed their former sensei, even if the girl didn't know how it did so exactly, but it wasn't her secret to tell. The Hyuga looked to the blonde and waited to see what his answer would be. Not sure what happened really. Naruto began, honestly confused. One moment he had me pinned on my knee with a busted arm, the next I'm waking up in the hospital. I remember everything that happened up until a funny feeling in my head, and that's about it. Shocked, Hinata realized that the boy was being completely honest. That means he doesn't know about the Yamigan. No one has told him yet exactly what is going on with his body. Why would they do that? Should I tell him or wait and talk with Kurenai-sensei? Seeing Naruto's confused, angry pout, Hinata decided that the blonde had a right to know. Naruto, do you know how you preform genjutsu? The Jinchuriki looked at his shy teammate asking. What do you mean? I just mold my chakra, make the hand signs, sometimes I visualize what I want people to see and sometimes I don't need to because the genjutsu can't be modified, and cast the jutsu. Oh yeah, sometimes I have to focus on an individual person's chakra or just the area they're standing in. Sakura was shocked by the back-worded way Naruto described his abilities. Genjutsu was far more complex than that. You had to regulate chakra and release enough power to preform the jutsu, but not so much it would unravel before actually doing anything. Genjutsu were very delicate. How did you place every kunoichi under that illusion back in class? Sakura asked curiously. It really just dawned on her that the boy had shown an incredible capability with genjutsu back at the academy, something that Sakura thought impossible. The pinkette had been so mad by the trick she hadn't really thought it all through until now. Scratching the back of his head awkwardly, Naruto apologized. Yeah, sorry about that. It was just supposed to be funny and Irika-sensei turned it into a big deal. Anyway, all I did was lock on to every kunoichi's chakra signature in class and used my false visual jutsu in the form of a command to make them see Sasuke the way they would imagine him necked. Suppose I could have used my false visual jutsu in its illusion form, but I would have had to actually envision next Sasuke myself to create the image. With that, the blonde gave a small shudder. Sakura was completely shocked. Naruto was describing extremely advanced techniques that usually took some time to learn. Most people focused on extensive study with basic illusions before moving on to actual commands. Some people could attempt a basic low-level command or two, but a command to make you see an actual image that wasn't true on someone else was Chunin to Jounin level. It was much easier to make them see something different about yourself than someone else. Looking at both the shocked pinkette and confused blonde, Hinata pressed on. Naruto-kun, has anyone told you about the Uzumaki clan's special abilities? Uzumaki clan? The boy asked in wonder. Yes, the Uzumaki clan that held from Hidden Whirlpool. Hinata clarified, confused. Didn't her crush at least know the basic history of his family? The village itself was destroyed during the Third Great Shinobi War by the combined forces of Stone and Cloud. To my knowledge, you are the last of your clan. Really? Sakura asked, surprised. She had heard of the Hidden Whirlpool village before but never made the connection to Naruto. She couldn't remember ever hearing about an Uzumaki clan. Naruto was also surprised to hear all of this. Why didn't anyone ever tell me this before? All the times I asked the Hokage about my parents and received no answers, why didn't he tell me about my clan? Shaking his head, the blonde focused back on the Hyuga heiress. What about these special abilities? Hinata tried to remember every story she had ever heard. Well, I know the Uzumaki were exceptional at Fuinjutsu. They were said to make masters outside their own clan appear to be no more than novices. However, some Uzumaki were born with special abilities associated with their unique chakra. You, Naruto, are one such Uzumaki. You possess a third eye in your head that utilizes a small amount of chakra every time you preform genjutsu, so as to actually preform the technique for you. The chakra it radiates appears to be purple in my sight. There's a third eye in my brain, Naruto exclaimed, shocked. Yes, Hinata assured him. It's the dojutsu called Yamigan. What I remember from stories regarding the Uzumaki clan, some had special physical anomalies that could only be worked with the Uzumaki's unique chakra. That's what your third eye is, a special physical anomaly. Sakura asked the young heiress curiously. When you say only works with Uzumaki chakra, you mean if an enemy removed the third eye from Naruto and grafted it to their body somehow, it wouldn't work at all? The Hyuga heiress gave a confirming nod as she studied Naruto. The blonde seemed so lost in thought. However, the pinkette had another question. What does it look like, Hinata, with your Byakugan side I mean? The small heiress explained the four Tomo and dawn-colored flames. How the eye would focus on who Naruto was trying to sense so as to lock onto them, or so she figured. Sakura was very fascinated by this development, while Naruto was more and more confused. Why didn't anyone tell me any of this, damn it? I had a right to know. The group walked on in silence, coming up on a hilly, rocky area with very little vegetation. Standing in the middle was their new sensei Kurenai Yuhi. She smiled at the group of genin as they stood in front of her. Glad you all got here so quickly and that you stuck together, shows unity. I thought we would start with simple introductions. Names, hobbies, something we hate, and dreams for the future. However, before anyone could begin, Naruto asked accusingly, "Sensei, did you know I had a third eyeball in my brain?" Kurina's train of thought was derailed by the question. She glanced at Hinata to see the girl blushing while doing her nervous finger tap habit. Looking back to the boy, the Jounin explained, "Yes, Lord Hokage informed me about the development when he made me your sensei." "When was someone going to tell me?" Naruto demanded angrily. "Lord Hokage wanted me to tell you to go and meet with him later today." Kurina lied smoothly. "I believe he wanted to get teams out of the way before telling you everything. He didn't believe the hospital was the best time as you were still recovering." The Jinchuriki didn't look too convinced but let it go for the moment. Pouting, he thought angrily, "The old man better have a damn good reason for not saying anything." Seeing as the boy was placated for the time being, the Jounin continued with introductions. "My name is Kurina Yuhi. My hobbies include romance novels, sushi, and sampling different types of sake. One thing I hate are men that look down on me because I'm a woman. My dream for the future is to one day have a family, and see all of you become the best shinobi you can be." The mad blonde boy figured he might as well get it over with. He focused his grumpy face on his sensei and said, "My name is Naruto Uzumaki. Hobbies are pranks and ramen. I hate it when people keep secrets from me, especially if those secrets pertain to me specifically. My dream is to one day become Hokage and to find out why our current Hokage keeps lying to me." Kurina resisted the desire to roll her red eyes. Honestly, the Jounin never understood why his mom and his clan were kept secret from him. The worldwide irrational fear Hidden Leaf's enemies had of a resurrected Uzumaki clan paled in comparison to a resurrected Yellow Flash. With that logic, keeping Minato Namikaze a secret made sense, but not the history of Hidden Whirlpool. Giving Naruto some knowledge of where at least half his blood came from would have provided some comfort growing up. For everyone's sake, the Genjutsu mistress hoped Hiruzen Sarutobi had a damn good explanation to give the angry Jinchuriki. Looking to Sakura, mainly because she knew Hinata had a hard time talking to a group, the sensei singled the pinkette to speak. The young kunoichi straightened her shoulders proudly, saying, "My name is Sakura Haruno. My hobbies are studying, and that's really all I got. Dreams for the future being a strong kunoichi and marrying whomever I fall in love with. Things I hate, kind of, I guess." Sakura was blushing slightly at her slip-ups. She didn't want to embarrass herself in front of an accomplished jounin kunoichi by saying her hobbies were studying and fantasizing about her future kids with Sasuke Uchiha. Also, though the pinkette would never admit this out loud, she was also a little afraid of what Naruto was capable of and didn't want to anger him by saying he was the thing she hated most. Well, found most annoying anyway. The kunoichi didn't hate the whiskered blonde directly, just the fact he was always pestering her for dates. Kurina once more resisted the desire to roll her eyes. She saw right through the pinkette's little speech. Giving Hinata an encouraging smile, the jounin signaled her to finish. My name is Hinata Hyuga. My hobbies are gardening and flower pressing. I can't really think of anything I hate, but some stuff makes me sad. The seal my family uses to protect the Byakugan, and the unfair way some people in the village are treated. Dreams for the future to repair the rift between the houses of my clan." Kurina smiled encouragingly at the young heiress before addressing the whole team. "Good, you all have goals and ambitions. Some have stronger meaning than others, but that's okay. I truly believe this team has great potential. Now, do any of you know how the village structures teams?" All the genin looked unsure about the question. Finally, Sakura voiced a guess. "They try and balance the strength of each individual team, I think." "Yes and no," Kurina answered. "That doesn't always work, even if it is what is more or less desired with each academy class. By balancing the strength evenly amongst genin teams, you have a greater chance of each team surviving an unexpected mission event. A client lies about potential dangers to keep the mission cost low, rogue ninja looking for a payday by killing the jounin sensei for a black market bounty, or some village hoping to acquire a kekei genkia they don't have for themselves are a few potential unknown dangers you could face in the real world. However, when the Hokage and Academy structure teams, they also look at each child's overall potential, especially in various areas of shinobi duties. Think about it, almost all the majority known strength of your class was put on Team 7. That's not to say they are the strongest team of your class. I can almost guarantee you Team 10 has by far the greatest unity, or teamwork, which at times can overcome greater individual strength, divide and conquer if you will. If Team 7 and 10 were to fight right now, Team 10 has the better chance of victory, though only by a small margin. When the village structures genin teams, they try and predict the future of each child's training and where it will take them within the shinobi fields. Team 7 has 2 boys with exceedingly high potential in tracking, and all 3 boys have predicted strength in ninjutsu and taijutsu. One has strong predicated strength in genjutsu as well. Overall, the team is well-rounded with a high expectation of success. Team 10 has a Nara, a Yamanaka, and an Akimichi, which is a tried and true method of overall success, Even more so since all three are clan heirs with high predicted individual strength. Naruto's mood was souring as his sensei kept talking. To him it sounded like this team was just a place for those with no real potential, but that couldn't be right. He remembered not only an hour ago Shikamaru himself praised him for the fact he had defeated an accomplished Chunin, Hinata was the Hyuga clan heiress, and Sakura was the smartest kid in their class. Looking at Kurenai, the boy asked in a deadpan voice, "What about our team, sensei?" The raven-haired beauty smiled happily down at her students. Kurenai wanted no doubt in their minds that what she said next was an exact true belief. This team Naruto has by far the greatest potential of any that has come out of the academy in the last 5 or 10 years. All three genin had shocked looks on their faces. Kurenai had just done nothing more than hype up Team 7 and 10 only to say their team was potential stronger than them. It just didn't make sense to the kids. Sakura came out of her confused shock first. "Hold on, sensei, you just said the 3 strongest genin of our class all made the same team. How can we possibly be stronger than them?" This time Kurenai didn't resist the temptation to roll her eyes while thinking. "With that attitude you'll never get anywhere, Sakura." Focusing back on her students, she explained. "Because of their individual abilities combined with their overall teamwork capabilities, Team 7 will be trained as if they were a tracking and tactical assault unit. Team 8 will be trained as if they were a live capture and reconnaissance unit. However, each member of this team has potential to learn and possibly master genjutsu. That is why you will be trained in espionage, unless something changes." "Something changes?" Hinata asked timidly. The woman focused her eyes on the Hyuga, saying, "You are going to be trained predominantly in espionage because that is where your known potential lies." Looking to the young pinkette, Kurenai explained, "Sakura, your natural-born chakra control combined with her intelligence makes her suitable for both medical jutsu and genjutsu. But if you become more dominant in medical jutsu, then the village could decide to switch the focus of her training to the medical corps." Hinata, the red-eyed jounin, spoke, looking to the young heiress. "You yourself have the Byakugan and an almost unnatural flexibility that makes you ideal for taijutsu, as well the Hyuga's trained chakra control that makes you ideal for genjutsu, plus your overall documented imagination. However, during the course of your training it may become apparent that the village guard unit is better suited for you opposed to field work. Nothing wrong with that at all, dear. The weak and vulnerable need a strong shinobi to keep them safe at times." 1. Turning to the orange-clad boy, the woman finished her analysis. "It goes without saying that you Naruto have excessive potential in both genjutsu and ninjutsu. Your Yomigan may allow you to do things no one else can with the illusion art, and we have no idea what other abilities may come of it later on. Your reserves of chakra are larger than most jounin, I know, even though you waste so much it hardly matters. But that can be easily rectified by training and learning better control, which would allow you to use immensely more powerful ninjutsu. Down the road of your career it may become apparent that heavy infantry is more suited for your duties to the village." Addressing the whole group, the jounin finished. "The village educates based on what is apparent in each individual student, doing its best to place you as accurately as possible for maximum effectiveness. As you grow and learn, new variables may present themselves that place you in other areas. There is nothing wrong with this at all. However, it is extremely rare for a genin team to be restructured. I think it happened once 15 years ago." The 3 genin thought about what their sensei explained. It was Naruto that asked the first question excitedly. "So, we're going to do super cool spy missions?" "Ha!" Kurenai barked loudly. "Do you really think the village would let genin right out of the academy go behind enemy lines? This team has been structured to be in espionage until, that doesn't make you one right out the gate. It takes training and hard work before you guys get to attempt anything more than a C-ranked mission, and you haven't even done one D-ranked mission yet. You also haven't passed my final test either." "Final test?" Sakura exclaimed. "What do you mean final test? We passed the academy, didn't we? That makes us genin." "Congratulations," Kurenai mocked. "You memorized a bunch of facts, learned how to throw a kunai half straight, and you can make 2 or more illusions of yourself. I'm sure you'll be great entertainment at a little kid's birthday party. However, if you want to be a shinobi you better learn how to apply that knowledge in the field. Otherwise all you'll be is dead. The academy gave you headbands, but I can take them back." All 3 kids gulped as their sensei continued. "Your test is simple, all you have to do is touch me. The first 2 genin to touch me pass, and the last fails. Espionage units work better in smaller numbers than other teams, so I'm only teaching 2 of you. However, if all 3 of you fail to touch me, then the whole team fails outright. You have until sunset, roughly 3 hours. You may begin when ready." With that, the Kurenai talking to them faded from existence. Naruto looked around the empty field confused. Wait, what? Was she an illusion the whole time or just at the very end? "I'm not sure," Hinata spoke up hesitantly. I never thought to check with my Byakugan. Sakura was quietly thinking about what Kurenai said. Only 2 of us will pass. That makes no sense when you factor in everything she explained about the teams and teamwork. All 3 of us must touch her, but only the first 2 can pass also makes no sense. Why should the last person in line bother trying to touch her just to help the 2 ahead of him, or her stay genin? Thinking it all through again, Sakura came up with the answer. The academy stressed overall importance on teamwork. Kurenai herself stated the teams themselves were structured based on how each kid fit with the others, who makes the strongest team. They had to work together as a team to pass, or they all failed as a team together. This test was structured to pit them against one another to see if they would value the team over themselves. Basically, if one genin would sabotage the other's attempts just so they would grab sensei first. It's teamwork, this is a test to see if we can work as a team. Sakura explained out loud to Naruto and Hinata. But sensei said only 2 of us can pass? Naruto questioned, confused. Hinata nervously tapped her fingers together and explained. Sakura is right, Naruto-kun. I'm sure of it too. It's the only answer that makes sense, otherwise the third person who has yet to touch Kurenai won't bother trying, thus the whole team fails. Naruto thought it over and agreed. Honestly, had both girls touched Kurenai-sensei before him, he still would have gone all out just to prove he could also grab her. Still, it didn't solve the problem of actually finding their sensei to grab hold of. Looking to Hinata, the Jinchuriki asked, "Can you find her with your Byakugan?" The girl was already looking around trying to do just that. It didn't take her long to spot the Genjutsu mistress sitting cross-legged under a naturally made overhang at the bottom of a small stone hill. Hinata quickly relayed what she was seeing to her 2 teammates. Well, I seriously doubt we could simply charge her and win. Sakura thought out loud. Let's compare notes, and see what abilities we can use. Sakura proudly proclaimed her knowledge and strengths with the Academy's big 3, clone, substitution, and transformation jutsu, plus she was the best trap maker in class next to Sasuke. Hinata kindly explained that she was proficient with the big 3 as well, plus her Juken. Naruto happily said he was very good with clone and transformation but not so much with substitution, plus, he had the shadow clone, shadow weapon clone, giant shadow weapon, divine embodiment jutsu, rolling worldview and false visual genjutsu. He also explained about his exploding shadow clone jutsu but said it was too dangerous to use unless there was a safe way of factoring it into a plan. 2. The pinkette gave her blonde teammate an envious look. Since when did he get an arsenal of jutsu? Hinata just looked at her blonde heartthrob in complete awe. Naruto-kun is so amazing. The 3 genin hashed out their idea and plan of attack. As one they crept through the rocky terrain heading for their sensei. The kids laid on their stomachs looking over a small hill towards the raven-haired jounin. Like Hinata had explained, she was sitting with her back to a straight slab of stone reading a book. Sakura grumbled something inaudible when she saw the cover. What's wrong? Naruto asked in a whisper. It's nothing. Sakura whispered back. That book she's reading is a really popular true story romance novel that my mom also likes. The problem is it was aimed at kunoichi, so possesses a lot of shinobi terminology and lingo. My mom constantly bugs me with questions about stuff she reads and wondering if some things the shinobi do are actually possible. It's really annoying. What's the book called? Hinata quietly asked. Love Between Nations. Sakura answered, still whispering. It's about a rock jounin that fell in love with a sand chunin he captured during the Second Shinobi War. They tried to run away together and join up with Cloud, but the Raikage betrayed them both. Some bid for a peace treaty that failed, and Hidden Rock executed the jounin before handing the chunin back to Hidden Sand. It's very tragic. The author is the son of both the Sand Chunin and Rock Jounin. That sucks. Naruto said, summing up the book nicely. Raikage, you should never trust Cloud Ninja, or Rock Ninja for that matter. Sakura said nothing as it didn't really matter at this point. The pinkette had a clearer understanding since she had read the book. The Raikage had been hoping that his actions would lead to a ceasefire with Hidden Rock. Instead, all it did was lead to a ceasefire between Sand and Rock. That Tsuchikage executed the jounin and traded the chunin back to Sand so they could execute their own traitor. But the Kazekage gave the kunoichi the benefit of doubt when she explained that it had all been a trick to escape and return home. She had been forced to denounce the man she loved most of all while pregnant with his son, just so they could both live. After she died, the boy published the book in hope of honoring his parents' forbidden love. He was a civilian that lived somewhere in the land of tea. All right, remember the plan, Naruto said as he slowly began making his way towards his sensei. Kurenai was just getting to a good part in the story when she felt the presence of her squad. Well damn, guess I could just be like Kakashi and Red while fighting, but Juken hurts like hell. The jounin put her book away and stood up, stretching while discreetly sensing out for chakra signatures. Just Naruto. I was hoping they would figure out teamwork was most important, but it feels like he split up from the girls. With the way Naruto and Hinata help each other battling Mizuki, you'd think, oh, there's the girls. I'll play along to see where this might lead. Faster than most eyes could follow, Kurenai spun around and caught Naruto's wrist easily as he tried a surprise attack. The boy tried to pull himself in to kick the woman in the shoulder, but the Jounin flung him away with little difficulty. Sakura and Hinata appeared behind the raven-haired woman just as she let the Jinchuriki fly. Quick as lightning, the Jounin jumped away to avoid a Juken strike to the spine that would have temporarily paralyzed her. The two young kunoichi charged as Naruto returned to their side. This would appear to be a rather straightforward attack, Kurenai thought, smiling. However, appearance can be deceiving. An explosion came from behind the hill she had been resting under as one of Naruto's hidden exploding shadow clones detonated. The entire hill began falling over as the shockwave shook the entire training field. Kurenai thought frantically as she backpedaled. Son of a bitch, Iruka hadn't been exaggerating one bit. These kids are going to kill me one day. The woman watched as the 3 clones in front of her were buried under tons of rock and rubble. The 2 transformed to look like the girls smiled and waved as they were crushed. A thick cloud of dust and dirt covered the entire area as Kurenai began coughing while trying to look around. She felt a sharp pain in both of her thighs that was easily recognizable as Juken strikes. The Jounin grimaced and began trying to leap away to get her bearings back. The dust appeared to be getting thicker as Kurenai's coughing lessened. Nice try, Naruto. The Jounin kunoichi thought as she broke the illusion. Casting a false visual command against me to continuously be blinded by the dust while I was distracted by the explosion was smart, but you still have a lot to learn about genjutsu combat. As the illusion vanished, the Jounin found herself being charged by all 3 of her genin, apparently the real ones this time. Naruto came at her head-on with Sakura on the left,